Test, test, test. Mayor, I move to adjourn from executive session.
Made a motion to adjourn from the executive session. I need a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I need a roll call.
Commissioner Vetter,
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons,
Aye.
Mayor Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Homan,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBras.
Aye.
Now I'd like to begin a joint meeting with Washington Township trustees and the Piqua City Commission. We do a motion for that?
You will need a roll call.
Commissioner Vetter,
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons,
Aye.
Mayor Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Homan,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBras,
Aye.
Jeff Lang, Ed McMacken.
Okay. So there's a consent agenda for that?
Approval of the minutes from the October 17, 2023 joint meeting of the Washington Township Trustees and the Piqua City Commission.
And we'll just do the second one as well, because that's why we're having this, right?
Resolution number R-12-24, a resolution appointing a commissioner representative to the Board of Trustees of Forest Hill Union Cemetery.
You looking for a motion to approve?
Well, who's the appointee, Mr. Manager, City Manager?
I'm sorry.
The appointee for the,
The Forest Hill Union Cemetery.
yes,
Who's the
Oh,
appointee?
it was Mr. Simmons,
okay.
Commissioner Simmons.
Commissioner.
We didn't have a meeting. I went to the meeting and there was no meeting, so.
Well, we're appointing you.
Oh, you're appointing me. Well, hi. I'll do it. Sorry, I'm trying to take notes here,
You're fine.
so.
Okay. Anything from trustees? All right.
I'd move the approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded for the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All those from the trustees? Motion passes. And I would like to get a motion to adjourn from the joint meeting with Washington Township trustees. So moved and seconded.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Next, we have some proclamations. The first is a proclamation celebrating Catholic Schools Week. Vice Mayor Vetter is going to meet with Brad Zimmerman, Principal Piqua Catholic. Yes.
Do our best. Thank you. Mayor Lee has asked me to read this proclamation, and I'm honored to do that. This is a proclamation that starts, whereas each year the Archdiocese of Cincinnati designates 1 week during the year to highlight Catholic schools, and in 2024, the week design will be January 28th through February 3rd. And whereas since 1853, Piqua has had a Catholic school, and today Piqua Catholic School is an example that religion-based school can withstand the test of time and change. And whereas the Archdiocese of Cincinnati network of Catholic schools has grown into one of the top 10 largest systems in the Catholic schools in the United States. And whereas a Catholic school education is highly valued and has played a significant role in the lives of many families, and whereas the presence of a Catholic school in our community has proven to be an additional amenity and incentive to the economic development of the city, and whereas the Piqua Catholic School is fully accredited by the Ohio Catholic Accrediting Association, serving students in preschool through 8th grade that consistently achieves above average in national testing, and whereas the school has open enrollment and welcomes students from other communities and other religions, and the environment of Piqua Catholic schools afford each child personal attention and promotes individual success, self-esteem, and growth. And whereas the legacy of Piqua Catholic schools will live for many years thanks to dedicated administrators, teachers, students, as well as very supportive community. Now, I, therefore, Mayor of the City of Piqua, and I'm doing this on behalf of Chris, do hereby proclaim January 28th through February 3rd, 2024, as celebrating Catholic Schools Week in the City of Piqua, and the mayor has put his name on the proclamation. So, congratulations. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, they're on.
They're on, okay. We have a second proclamation. This proclamation is in reference to Dr. Martin Luther King Day and observance, and it reads as follows. Whereas January 15th, 2024 is observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. National Holiday, and whereas Americans are being urged to go beyond celebrating his birthday and paying respect to his extraordinary life by committing and dedicating themselves to living the dream that was his, and whereas Dr. King was one of history's most courageous, eloquent, and inspiring leaders, succeeding in awakening the national spirit to a new level of recognition and appreciation of our unfulfilled promise of justice, quality of opportunity, and human brotherhood for all our people. And whereas now, as during his all too brief 39 years of life, there is much to be done to ensure that freedom does ring from the mountaintops and justice flow like a mighty stream, and that we can truly sing together free at last. Now therefore, I, Chris Lee, Mayor of the City of Piqua, do hereby proclaim January 15th, 2024 as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Day. The Committee on Diversity went in and requested that this proclamation be made, just so you know. So we are through with that. Next is a presentation by Mandy Combs. Oh, wait a minute. A presentation by the Cub Scouts, Pack 295, Angel Taylor.
So our scouts have some questions for you.
Sure.
My name is Bryce.
Hi, Bryce.
What does your job entail?
Well, we represent, each of us up here represent a ward of the city. That's a section of the city that the city's been divided into, and so we speak for the people that live in those sections. And so we represent them, so if they have questions, problems, issues, if they want us to represent them and ask us to do things, that's how we represent them. But there's a lot more.
How much longer until the YMCA is
That's a
completed?
great question. Last I heard, was it May? Jim, you would know better, wouldn't you?
My understanding is 2024, and I think it's probably going to be closer to the fall. I don't think a date's been set for that yet.
You can't wait to get in there, can you?
No, I can't.
I can't wait to see the new gym. I'm with you. Okay, is that it?
Yeah.
All righty.
Thanks. You did a
We've
good
got
job.
some more questions, I'll bet.
Thanks, Bryce.
You may have to bend that microphone down a little
Yep.
bit to help him.
What is your name?
Andrew,
Hi, Andrew.
why did you want to be a community leader?
I think I will have Commissioner Simmons start with that one.
Well, we always don't get to start out that way. But some of us get to learn the hard way that the best thing that we can do is support our community. And this last year has really been tough in my household. And my wife found out that Mayor Pearson was not going to run for re-election. And I came home and I told her, I said, she's not going to run. She said, you have to run. And so I guess I ran because my wife told me to. Oh my God.
There you go.
Comes out. But there's no better thing that I could do with my time than be here right now
And give
with
back.
you.
Good. Commissioner?
What was the question again? Why did I want to be a community leader? I think it was, well, I guess to lead my community. Man, that's a tough question.
one,
It's a
yeah.
tough question. Let's see here. There's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions about how stuff works around the city. I was one of those people who had an opinion about how things worked around the city. And so instead of just continuing to talk about it, I decided to try to step up and hopefully do something about it. So I was kind of trying to take charge. That's the reason why I wanted to be a community leader.
I wanted to give back and to help the community. I was a police officer for a long time in the city, and I wanted to continue in some role in helping the city. I could do it behind the scenes, or it could come up here. So I continue to do that.
Yeah. I have a long experience in working with the public, and one of the things that I think is that each of the wards in the city needs to have strong leadership, because something that maybe works good in one place maybe not works so well in other places. And so I think that this gives us an opportunity to talk and to look at ideas and share ideas. And I think in the end, when we finally get to a point of decision, it really helps us feel that we've done a pretty good job of sorting things out and trying to do what's best for the city and for the wards that we represent. So it's a tough job.
And Commissioner DeBras.
Well, my answer is kind of twofold. One, I have the privilege of my day job being public service as well. And throughout the course of almost 20 years of doing that job and working for some of Ohio's very instrumental members of Congress, I had to take a hard look at myself and say, is there any reason I'm not providing the things that I've learned and picked up along the way to my beloved hometown of Piqua? So I made the leap and made myself put myself on the ballot to see if the folks of the city would be willing to have me up here, and I guess we'll find out whether they made a good choice or not.
Thank you. You have another question? Mm-hmm. Okay.
How can citizens help you be more effective?
Oh, good question.
Good question. By speaking out and telling us what it is that you want. We can't do anything unless the citizens tell us what it is that they like, what they dislike. And we hear both sides of every coin. So we have to listen. So they can help out by volunteering too. There's lots of groups and committees that we have that people can be a part of. And so they could help the city by volunteering on some of those groups and committees. Okay? Any other questions?
Nope.
You are awesome. Thank you
Great
very
job.
much.
Thank you.
And lift that up, please. And what is your name?
Jackson.
Hi, Jackson.
I have a question. When will the Lock 9 project be done?
Well, let's have the city manager answer that one. When will the Lock 9 project be done?
So right now it's on schedule, and we're hoping to have a ribbon cutting hopefully before Memorial Day, which is a nice holiday to kick off the summer.
There you go.
Why don't we have a ladder truck for the fire station?
Well, the ladder truck that we had was 23 years old, and it was costing more to keep it fixed than it would be to get a new one, and we couldn't afford a new one just yet. It is something that we want to get. It's something that's in the capital improvement program. I don't know how high it's ranked, but believe me that there's no more important item than to have a ladder truck in our town. We borrow. Covington comes and Troy comes, but it's nice to have our own. So that's a great question. Thank you. And your name?
Allison,
Hi, Allison.
Pull the mic just a little
A
closer
little bit
to your
up.
mouth.
There
That's the
you
way.
go.
when will potholes start being fixed? Some of our roads are pretty bad.
I couldn't understand you, dear. I'm sorry.
A little louder.
When will potholes start being fixed? Some of our roads are pretty bad.
Yep, there have been a lot of potholes, and the street department is going around and fixing them as they are reported. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Certainly. So this time of year is really bad for potholes. When you have snow and freezing and then it thaws, that's what makes the pothole happen. So if you see one, call our Public Works Department, let them know where it's at. They'll go out and they'll take care of it so that nobody hurts their car on it.
Great questions.
Good question.
Now that Kettering Emergencies Room is closing, will wait, I missed a word.
It's all right.
Now that Kettering Emergencies Room is closing, will ambulances be transporting to UVMC again?
Yeah,
For emergencies.
they were transporting to UVMC, but not as much as they were to Kettering. I think, was it a little over 53% of the calls were being transported to Kettering, and the rest were going either UVMC or Wilson. So they'll go back to what we were doing before we had an ER. And economic conditions, meaning that business decided that there wasn't enough business to keep an emergency room there. They decided that. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, so Kettering was fielding about 44% of our ER calls at that particular emergency room, and so they'll either go, as you said, either up to Sydney to Wilson or down to Upper Valley.
All right. That's it?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Any other questions from the Cub Scouts? Does that qualify for their badge? Do they get a badge for that? Because I want to make sure they get something for that. Let's give them a hand, folks. Good job, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys coming up. I know I was in Weeblos. I spent a year in Boy Scouts. I thought it was one of the best things I could have done. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to come visit us. Thank you very much. So. All right, so we're going to move on to the consent agenda for the regular Piqua City Commission meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, we got another presentation. I keep cutting them out. Mandy Combs of the Greater Humane Society. Thank you. That's why you're up here. Hi there.
Hello.
Hi there, I'm Mandy Combs from the Humane Society of Greater Dayton. I'm the hospital administrator. I run the high-volume spay-neuter clinic and the general practice there at the Humane Society of Greater Dayton. I came to kind of congratulate and give some information about your community cat project for this year. Last year in around May, Piqua launched their community cat project with Humane Society of Greater Dayton, and it is kind of a groundbreaking one for us because luckily for us, Piqua decided to be a little bit more forward-thinking with their community cat project and added some funds for the health and welfare of the community cats as well as spay-neuter projects. So what we saw from May forward was about 34 cats were spayed and neutered from the community cats in your area. So those are unhomed cats. They're cats that have been just living outdoors and your volunteers are caring for them. Probably one of the people who's most responsible for that that we see a lot is Kathy Ward. She's been wonderful and instrumental in that project. And so we've spayed and neutered 34 cats in that project. We've also treated several cats for very serious illness and injury. And I take no credit for this, but do happen to know that quite a few of those cats made their way off the streets and into homes as well. So that's through the work of the volunteers in your community as well. We talk about the TNR project a lot because it is the most effective way to reduce the community cat population. Community cats really kind of become troublesome for the residents of your city, especially if they're sick, they're injured, or they're causing damage to property. And the long-term effects of TNR programs look a little bit like this. So 2 cats can populate about 12 cats in their first year of life. Their offspring will then go on in just 3 years to number about 376 cats. So 34 cats might not seem a lot, but the impact is pretty enormous. So it is one of those programs that as you go through, every cat matters, making sure that you're having volunteers out there trapping and bringing these cats to the Humane Society, scheduling that for free for the residents of Piqua. To have those cats that are in their neighborhoods spayed and neutered is really important. And also, we really want to encourage pet owners in Piqua to spay and neuter their cats. We have an owned cat low-cost program as well. So if this is just your cat that lives either in your house or your yard and you want to take responsibility for it and raise it in your home, we have a low-cost program for that as well. And the reason why that's so important is that it kind of stops the population from growing before they get outside. So a lot of times what happens is someone gets a cat or is gifted a cat or the universe gives them a cat, which is how a lot of cats get to people. And before they can get them spayed or neutered, they have a litter. Or the behaviors that the cat is exhibiting from being unneutered are so unpleasant that they move that cat outdoors. And then you start to see the growth of the outside population. So spaying and neutering the owned cats is sort of the prophylactic solution to the problem. And a little bit more reactive, but still very effective, is the trap neuter return. I also want to make sure that I say how grateful we are that we're going to be participating in this program again next year. I feel like we can do even more good for your community in the next 12 months. Having a full year to work on it, and we want to provide any support that we can for the city of Piqua. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, I want to open it up. I'm open to taking any questions about the spay-neuter program, about community cats.
Do you feel like we're going up or down in the stray cat population or the community cat population?
I think that's probably for your residents to say. I don't really know the answer to that. I know that, that number, 34 cats, is a lot of headway. I don't know what your total number in the colonies are, but that's a great start. And it certainly come kitten season, I think you'll see the positive impact of the 34 cats that have already been neutered. So I guess I don't know your total populations, but this is the right way to go.
Do you have any recommendations or programs for people that maybe the universe gave them a cat or kittens and they don't really want them and maybe are thinking about dropping them in a box by the river, which I've unfortunately seen?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it is important you can always call the Humane Society of Greater Dayton or any number of rescues. There is our Farm Sanctuary, His Hands Extended, Siska. There's any number of groups that want to take in those stray cats. If the group is, like, for example, the Humane Society is full, they may say, okay, you're going to have to try us back in a couple weeks, and we'll keep you on a list to try to take in these kittens. But I think that it is a challenge for people. They don't necessarily want to take on these extra kittens, but if you just take the time to try to contact some of these rescue organizations and get those kittens into the right pipeline, you're really reducing the community cat problem.
The other issue, of course, is that in my neighborhood, we've had 7 cats killed on the street.
Of course.
And you don't want to see that be the final solution for cats. And so
No, yeah, no, and it's a dangerous world out there for community cats. I mean, the more we spay and neuter, the less likely they are to get injured, to get injuries like infections from biting, from roaming. The reason why they're running all over the place is because they're unneutered. So they're looking for mating opportunities. They're looking for food and shelter. So when you neuter them, I think you definitely decrease their risk of course, the population, but also their risk of injury.
Can you tell me about kind of like the life cycle of the catch, spay, neuter, release that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Like kind of a example of what that looks like.
Yeah, like from like the cat's perspective, like what happens to them?
Yeah, from the cat's perspective, it's probably not the best day.
No, probably not.
It's for their eventually good, but so a volunteer trapper takes an actual humane trap, which most people recognize as like a have-a-heart trap.
Yep.
They bait it with some really yummy cat food. They put it in the area that they know the cat is going to be frequenting. The cat goes in, the door shuts. You've got an appointment scheduled already at the Humane Society. You bring your little trap in. Our people intake that cat in the trap. Now, some community cats are pretty friendly. They may be outdoors, but they may not be feral. They might just be outdoor cats, and that's fine. We don't mind. If they are really feral, though, that's like having a wild animal in that trap. So we bring them in this trap, and we anesthetize them right in the trap. And from that point, it just looks like any surgery that any of your pets would have at any veterinary office. The only difference is because they are unvaccinated and of questionable personality, I'll say, we anesthetize them in the trap for the safety of our staff.
Sure.
So after that, they just have a general spay-neuter procedure, just like any cat would have. We line their trap with some comfy material. We put it back in there with a little extra snack to go, and they wake up in their trap. The volunteer comes back, takes the trap. They keep it one night, overnight in a safe place in the trap, because the anesthesia needs to wear off for the cat to be like fully aware and able to take care of itself in its original environment. And then they put it right back where they found it. And the cat goes on to live its life with less injuries, less illness, and no babies. So that's
So,
good for everybody.
One quick question. Is the experience unpleasant enough for the cats that you don't get repeat customers?
Actually, you know, we do not get repeat customers, and it's because we tip the corner of their ear. So there's this sort of universal sign that an outside cat has already been fixed, and it's a little ear tip. So we just take the little tip off, and if you catch one that has that, that's a catch and release. You just let that one go.
All right.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, that was good. I like that.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope in the next year we'll be able to continue to work together. I have left some of these handouts about your program in the back, and also some brochures for yourselves or the residents to take for the Humane Society.
Great. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
Thank you.
very much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Now it's time for the consent agenda.
Approval of the minutes from the January 2nd, 2024 regular city commission meeting.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Next on the consent agenda,
Park Board Annual Report.
do we have someone to speak on that?
Amy is. She would be.
My name's Natalie Young.
Hi, Natalie.
I will kind of go over the park board report that we are presenting to you tonight. If you have any questions, I'm assuming everyone has had time to go over it, so if you have
No,
any
go right
questions,
ahead.
please feel free.
I'm sure.
In general, some of the larger topics that the park board has discussed this year is in terms of Lock 9, and we look forward to the completion of that and how that will impact the budget moving forward into 2024 and beyond. And we have been discussing a number of things that the park board would like to see revitalizing in the parks and things like that. And we have put together a list of some of the things that we have discussed over the course of the last year. We have sort of had a lot of turnover on the park board. We lost our chair in September, that he moved away. And so at our September meeting, we did not have enough members there to vote for a new chair. And in our November meeting, I was elected chair, so here I am to present this to you. So we had not much time to put this together for you. We kind of started off with the last year and a half, the park board has had a desire to want to present a more thorough park report to you. I think historically that's just kind of been almost an afterthought or not anything really formal that has been presented. And with Philip Moyer moving on, the momentum for that kind of got lost. So for the current year, we have just put together a letter and a short list of things that we have discussed. Moving into 2024, one of the big things that we would really like to do is kind of take a look at the old comprehensive parks master plan that was done. I think that was done back in 2017. Yeah, back in 2017. Some of those things have been accomplished, such as developing the downtown riverfront, and some of the items that are within that comprehensive plan are no longer applicable. And so the park board you've got a really active group of members that really want to try to make a difference and help out in providing recommendations to the commission and to the city. And so the park board has been really trying to find its way in terms of figuring out the best way to do that instead of just voting on, you know, we close at 8:30 instead of sunset or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So I guess at this point, I would like to open up for questions for any of you, if you've had a chance to review through. We have a number of things that we have in discussion that we really can't present to you at this point because it's all just kind of in discussion at this point.
My understanding is you still meet on Wednesday evenings?
We do.
And what is the date of the month, or how do you set your meetings?
I know our next meeting is January 31st. Amy, do you happen to have, or Melissa, the schedule? Because I'm not sure.
At the last Wednesday of the month, or?
Well, we have a meeting 6 times a year, and it's posted on the city website page under the park board and also on the main calendar page for the city.
Do you look forward to the incorporation of the tree committee into the park board?
Yes, I think that bringing in new members, well, I don't know how many people we're expecting. Do you happen to know?
2 or 3?
2 or 3, yeah,
Oh,
I think that would be
plus me,
great.
sorry.
No, I heard. I'm excited. You're more than welcome. We're all excited for that.
Bend
That is
my
one
ear.
thing that we voted on and approved at our, I think that was the November meeting.
Great. I'm looking forward to it because you got a lot of good ideas and a lot of amenities and things that need to go into the park, and you definitely want you coming up here recommending them to the commissioners because parks are important.
Yeah, I
They really
think parks are, obviously, everybody that sits on the park board has a interest in them in one shape or way or another, you know, one way or the other. But I think that parks are one of our biggest, you know, tools in terms of attracting people to our community and providing value to our citizens.
Agreed. When people come to a city, they see how safe it is, and they look at the parks, they look at the schools.
Mm-hmm.
So parks are important.
Hopefully you'll be able to attend our initial meeting on the Hance Pavilion that comes up this Thursday, 7 o'clock at the Youth Center building at the YM. And so, again, we understand that the city owns the building. We understand that it is in the parks. And so we need to have good communication about that.
Yes, there's certainly a few members on the park board that are
Passionate.
very interested and passionate about the Hance
Yep,
Pavilion.
good. Great.
And the whole board went, and park board went and looked through this and
Well, it was a little bit last minute. I drafted the letter, and the original documents that would have been submitted were pretty much drafted by the Parks Department, and those were sent out to all of the park board members for comment. And a couple of the members commented back, and all of those comments were put together and sent back to the Parks Department. The letter and the list that you have are a very good representation of all of the discussions that have been had during the last year for the parks. I would say that there's probably a few comments that were suggested that didn't make it in there, and those are things that'll be on the agenda
Great.
going into January.
I've-
Some things that,
I've
you know,
heard-
like moving things to 2024, well, 2024 budget's already been decided, certain things like that that just,
Well,
Yep.
but we would,
understood. And we'll talk about that. We will. So. Good luck.
anything else?
No, thank you for volunteering and being a part of it and leading the committee, and I look forward to meeting with you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, on the consent agenda.
Resolution number R 1324, a resolution of appreciation for the second half of 2023 City of Piqua volunteers.
So, as we've done in the past, when Mayor Pearson was here, there's a list of volunteers who volunteer for various boards and committees throughout the city. And it is like 2 1/4 pages. We will have it posted on the, of people who take the time to volunteer. And we will have it posted on our website. And if anybody would like a copy of who volunteers and does what, I'm be glad to give you my copy or a copy of it. But there's a lot of dedicated people who just like to help out our city, and we appreciate everything they do. So please look on our website for the volunteers list. And
I'd move the approval of resolution R-13-24.
Second.
moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Resolution number R-14-24.
A resolution appointing a member to the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission.
And
Mr. Mayor, I can speak on that if you like.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission is our MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, that we are members of, and that's common around the state. It's the mechanism that's utilized to channel funds, federal dollars, back into the localities. So by participating in the MVRPC, we are at the table for those discussions. What they ask for from the member communities is that there be one elected official as an appointed board member, and an alternate member from staff. And so this item is, I believe, the appointment of the board member.
And who is that board member?
Amongst you all, it was Commissioner Simmons who had requested to participate on this body.
There you go.
Is the next resolution then the alternate? Is that is?
Yeah, so on the agenda, you've got the board member appointment, the alternate appointment, and then the appointments to the technical advisory committee, which would be the city planner and our engineering coordinator.
Okay. Those are the three resolutions.
Correct.
R-14-24, R-15-24, and R-16-24.
Correct.
Frank, can I do a motion for all three of those? It's consent
Sorry,
agenda.
what did you say?
Can I do a motion for all three of those? Or do I have to do them one at a time?
You'll do one at a time.
One at a time. I need a motion for R-14-24.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. I need a motion for R-15-24.
Moved.
I need a second.
Second.
All right. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And for R-16-24.
I move to adopt resolution R-16-24.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, can you say aye?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. So, resolution number R-17-24.
A resolution appointing a member to the Planning Commission.
No, 17-24.
We've got
Miami
County
County
Community
Community
Action
Action Council.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Okay. A resolution appointing a member to the Miami County Action Council.
All right. You got that one too, Chris?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So this is the appointment of Jonna Raphael, our development analyst, to the Miami County Community Action Council. The work that she does with the CHIP program and other programs that we support out of our office align very well with the types of items that are administered through the Community Action Council, and I think she'd be an excellent representative.
Great. I need a motion.
I'd move the adoption of resolution R-17-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? Nay? No. Motion carries. That concludes the consent agenda. And now for new business, we'll start with ordinance number O-1-24, first reading.
An ordinance to amend Title 15 Land Usage Piqua Development Code.
Good evening, members of the commission. This item, as described, would amend the land usage section of the code, which is the section that adopts the development code, which includes zoning regulations and the like. The proposed amendment would be to establish use standards for a hotel and to make that use a special use in the districts where it may be permitted. The use standards effectively provide a means for evaluating any new hotel that is proposed to ensure that it can be supported by the local economy and that it's not likely to have a deleterious impact on any existing hotel uses. The Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on this matter on January 9th, took under consideration the draft language, made some really good recommendations that resulted in a few revisions, and then advanced their recommendation for approval of this matter. So the item is now presented to the City Commission for consideration as an ordinance.
Question, as a special use permit, anything that, once it gets approved as a special use permit, it would not come to the commission?
Right, whereas on the use tables, you've got administrative or principal permitted uses, so those would be a use type where you would bring an application in, it can be reviewed and approved administratively, versus special uses, which merit some additional consideration given the use type to make sure that it's suitable for the surrounding, compatible with the surrounding uses, and doesn't otherwise have any deleterious effect or negative impact on the community. So the Planning Commission considers special uses, makes a recommendation to authorize or deny, and then once that happens, then they can go through the permitting process.
Any other questions by commission? Any questions by citizens?
Jeff Grimes, 1314 Maplewood Drive. On this new hotel, was TIF money used to purchase this?
The TIF, excuse me, the TIF money was not used to purchase it. It's something that is baked into the back end of the development deal.
I thought that you said that we were going to use TIF money to purchase this and there would be bonds.
No, we have bonds to buy the property to gain control, and the TIF is on the back side of the development agreement.
So my concern is I don't think the city should be in the real estate business. And I've been doing a little bit of checking on TIF, and it says TIF money should not be used. Let me get this out here, I'm sorry. TIF assistance should only be provided when it's been determined that development wouldn't likely occur without it. So if I remember correctly, the city bought this property because they said somebody else was interested in buying it and they were going to pay more. So this should not be used for TIF. Some other things on TIF. The designation of urban areas as blighted, essential to most TIF implementation, can allow governmental condemnation of property through eminent domain laws. And I'm pretty sure that the city condemned this property. So I think this was illegal, and I don't think that TIF money should be used. TIF is very criticized. It says some questions whether TIF districts actually serve their resident populations. Just all kinds of stuff.
Was the TIF illegal, Mr. Oberdeffer?
I'm not saying that it's illegal, but it shouldn't be used in this area because it's not blighted. There was other interest in developing this, and you guys said that you didn't want that there.
Mr. Can you answer that?
So the TIF is legal, and we had outside bond counsel as well as outside legal representation that had the discussion with the commission as well as the administration, and there are no legal issues.
If there was other interest in this land and it could have been sold for more money, then TIF money should not be used. The city should not be in the real estate business. You shouldn't be able to determine somebody's value of their property, and you guys condemned it. So it just says that you guys use this as a tool to condemn people's property. So that's not right. That guy should have been able to sell his property to whoever he wanted to. And do we really need, we have a hotel at the Piqua Center. We have a hotel right by it. I just think that this is overstepped what our town should be doing. Why should somebody, if my property is worth $1 million, let's say, and somebody comes in and offers me $2 million, why should he be able to buy it for $1 million? So I'm just asking you guys that you're not allowing free enterprise by being in the real estate business. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on this topic? All right. That'll serve as a first reading then. Next is resolution number R-18-24.
A resolution authorizing a purchase order to Hampton Golf for services provided to Echo Hills Golf Course.
Good evening. Good evening. No microphone? Good evening. Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. This resolution will approve the purchase order that's necessary for Hampton Golf due to this expenditure exceeding the dollar amount threshold for commission approval. We are in the second year of a 3-year contract with Hampton Golf to provide the management services, marketing, and employment services at Echo Hills.
Any questions from commission?
What is the dollar value?
We put in a not to exceed $418,000. So the management and marketing fees are about $100,000 of that, and the remaining $318 is for employment. So this covers all of the employees at the golf course
For just this year or for?
for 2024.
When, at the end of last year, when the report from the golf course was given as far as how much money it had brought in, how much was made, how much was budgeted, and the commission had to move money from the general fund to the golf fund, was the expenditure for this contract from last year in that total?
Yes. Yes, we actually had the purchase order last year was approved for, I believe it was more than $450,000 last year. They did a nice job with curtailing some costs and keeping mostly on the employment side down. So I believe we only spent around $400,000 on this contract last year.
And then did we ever get the final number? I know we had to wait for the end of the year as to what, did the golf course break even? Did we lose, where were we with
Yeah.
that? I know the last time it was brought up, we had to wait till the close of the year.
Right. The year has closed, but the finance has not closed the books yet. So we even got some bills yet this week that we're still paying. So it's going to be a while yet until finance can officially close 2023. But as in terms, I mean, I can tell you roughly that the revenue was up significantly for I believe the first time our revenue exceeded $1 million. So that was really great. It was about I think more than 40% increase in our revenue. Expenditures were about the same. So we did make the transfer of $100,000 from the general fund, which is down. So we don't expect the golf course would have broken even last year. I mean, that's certainly our goal moving forward. But it has never happened to my knowledge.
Sure. Well, and part of that was the capital projects that you had budgeted as well, correct?
Correct. We did some pretty significant improvements to the course.
And are we looking at additional capital projects for this coming year as well?
We have a small amount of capital going to the course this year,
Not as much as last year.
not as much as last year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we anticipate getting closer to break even this year?
We hope so. We were very blessed in '23 with really great weather, and that is always a significant factor for the golf course. So if we have a great weather year again, we certainly hope that revenues continue to increase, and we're always keeping an eye on the expenditures.
Any other comments from commissioners? No. Any comments from citizens?
Dave Hitchings, 305 Westview. Can we not hire, or could we have not hired a company like this to run a swimming pool? I mean, we've got 2 golf courses in Piqua, 23,000 people maybe, and we got 2 golf courses that we're supplying them with money. Hopefully, they start breaking over.
2 golf courses?
Country club, don't we,
Do we?
don't they run that too?
Hampton runs it, but we don't supply for the country club, do we?
The city doesn't own
we
the
don't own
country
that,
club
yeah.
golf course.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, because I've always thought when you were talking before.
No,
it
it's
was
out in the
about-
county, so I
I
didn't
thought
think.
it was about the country club golf
No,
course.
no, just Echo Hills. Well, and one of the things we talked about with the pool was to manage it and have it managed, and we would never have broken even, but that's something that we'll look at when we do look at a pool, so you're right. That's a good.
Look at a pool.
Huh? No, when we look at a pool, when we look at one.
We're going to?
No, I would love to. You know me, I would love to have a pool, but thanks, Dave. Yep.
Valerie Mullick, and I live in Washington Township. I'm a Piqua resident. I have a question about this golf course. Last year, we budgeted for correct me if I'm wrong, you just said $450,000, is that right? About $500,000 basically we budgeted. We had $1 million in revenue, and we hoped to break even, but we had to add an additional $100,000 at the end of the year. And this year, we're only budgeting for $418,000, hoping to break even again this year. Why would we not look at the last 5 years and build an effective budget so we don't have to allocate funds from the general fund at the end of the year?
You're not asking her.
Am I asking?
So I've been here 3 years now, and when I got here, the city ran the golf course. The first year, we had a transition year with the managed service in '22, and they took over complete management in '23. And so it takes a while to get that revenue built up, and it's a lot of things. It can be from employing 4UP, which is our online service, so you can book your tee times versus having a tee sheet, and somebody would call somebody at the golf course, and they would write down your tee times. It was purchasing additional carts so that you speed up play, so you move more people through, and things like that. So, at the end of the day, it's really optimizing the operation. I don't know how to run a golf course, I'll admit, and that's why we hired somebody that does. And the biggest component outside of weather, which is the unknown, and you can do everything in your power to want to break even, but if Mother Nature does not cooperate, you will not break even. However, when you have a good year, if you have a properly managed course and you have people that are willing to come out and play, you meet the price point, you can turn a profit or break even. And so there are a lot of variables that go into it, and what we're trying to do is pick the things that we know have the surest bet of getting done and creating, a net zero cost for the golf course.
Okay, so I appreciate that. Last year, we had a budget of $450,000, and we allocated an additional $400,000. We held it back in the general fund to be able to make up any deficit at the end of the year. And thankfully, we didn't have to utilize that full $400,000. We only had to utilize $100,000 of it, which is fantastic. But that's an indication that you did not budget effectively last year. So why would you not budget for $500,000 this year instead of $400,000 to come closer to that break-even point rather than having to bail out of your general fund at the end of the year, to make it more of a fluid overall picture of the financial stability of the golf course.
Well, at the end of the day, it's revenues and expenditures, and so, you know, you can only forecast that in this particular recreation area. And we have a new finance director, and Amy, did you want to speak to that?
Yes, please. I think what I had said earlier was confusing, apparently. This 400,000 that we're approving tonight is only one line item in the expenditure budget. The expenditure budget is over $1 million. So this is just for the management services and the employment services and the marketing. We also have utilities, the cost of the food, the cost of all the equipment, the supplies. This is just one line item in the overall budget.
Okay. So the money that we took out of the general fund in November or December, whenever it was that we to zero balance out the golf course,
We had
that was for
budgeted
the
for that.
entire budget. That wasn't just for this line item.
Correct.
So how much was allocated last year for employment that we are looking at? This budget that you're talking about tonight is for the employment section. So how much was budgeted last year? How much was there a deficit last year that we had to cover to bring that to that zero balance?
That was the question Commissioner DeBross asked, and I said that last year this line item was budgeted at about 450 to 470, somewhere in that range, and it came in less than what was budgeted. But overall, all of the expenditures came in at budget, but we budgeted that we would need a transfer from the general fund, which is something that is done every year.
At some point, we need to start to get a little closer to zero when we're doing that budget.
That is the goal.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Valerie.
Debbie Stein, 1810 Carroll Drive. So my question, Amy, why don't we wait, or to Mr. Oberdorfer, why don't we wait and figure out what all the year-end costs and the closeout of the books are before we move ahead with this resolution? What's the hurry to do this without knowing total cost?
We have to pay our bills, and in order to pay the bills that are going to come in, we have to have this budget and this resolution in place. It's the commission's responsibility to approve any expenditure that exceeds $75,000. So we know that this is going to exceed $75,000, so we have to have this in place.
I still believe if you don't have your totals, I mean, it's your purview to do what you want, but you don't have your totals, and we all know the country club is dealing with issues too with Hampton Golf, and it's a lot of money, and not having all your figures in front of you, again, it's always your decision. So it's just a concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so this is for
You
marketing.
need to say your name and
Alicia Lang, Troy Sydney Road. I live outside of town. My vote still matters. God bless America. This is just for marketing and the app usage, and what all does this entail once again?
It's detailed in the packet, but essentially it's all the maintenance services, all the people that work in the club, as well as the manager that manages the facility.
Okay, so it's salary for these people, and maintenance, would that be like keeping the lawn? Does that include chemicals for that?
Chemicals
Or
are a
that's
separate
something-
line item. Yeah.
Okay. Personally, I don't think that we need a golf course like this. We have a country club. I think that people in the town would prefer a splash pad at Fountain Park or a pool. I mean, I've heard that numerous times.
Well, I can speak to that because not everybody can access a country club because it's very expensive. So what we're providing is play that is affordable to the residents.
Well, that's cool. But there's Top Golf too. We could maybe sell it to Top Golf. You know,
The top golf market does not
Right.
come down to this scale.
right? That's a good point. Yeah. So I guess one of my concerns is I've seen a lot of EPA files that come from the golf course, and I just feel that the runoff alone, what it does, is a great reason to not have it. I feel that the city should not be using all this money to outsource business elsewhere when there are several, probably people, businesses, local families that could step up and provide these services, maybe even better. I've not heard very many good things from the country club using it. So those are my thoughts. And I think that it's a bad use of money for the city.
So I'd like to respond to that because the country club is a different environment.
Right.
And so they're operating in two different spheres. When you have a public course versus a private course,
Right.
the expectation level is different, the level of care, and it all equates to the amount of maintenance effort versus the amount of cost for play. And so for the amount of money it costs to play on our golf course, you get to play on a very well-maintained course for a reasonable rate that is, comparable to anywhere else around the area. Now, if you go to the country club, you're paying to play whether you play or not, and when you show up, you pay to play, correct? And then the level of maintenance on that course is a level above what we have, and so you're paying for that as well.
I guess I'm not really talking about the course itself or like the functions and that. More so, I was just discussing like the marketing aspect because that's what this is, right?
Two different marketing realms.
Right.
Yep.
So you said it was 124,000 roughly done in 2023 on marketing is what you spent out here. I think that was poorly used. $124,000 for marketing services, and we can't even break even.
That's just part of that line item.
Right.
Go ahead, Amy.
So, well, I've done marketing for 15 years, so that seems excessive.
That's
to me.
not just marketing. Do you want to go
Yeah,
ahead?
that 100,000 that I referenced
Yeah.
includes the management of the course that we get from Hampton. So they manage the course, they hire all the employees, they run the course day to day, plus the marketing is included in that.
Okay. Yeah, I can't see
They run all the social media for the course, they run the website for the course.
Okay. Those things can be outsourced for a fraction of that, but that's beside the point. That's my, as a citizen here, someone that pays taxes, I just wanted to speak my piece, and I don't think that our town wants this as much as a pool.
I'm just curious, what taxes do you pay the city?
Paul, do you own a home here?
That's not the question I asked.
We're not here talking about me. We're here talking about the golf course.
Well, you just stated that you paid taxes, and I was just curious.
Do. I certainly do.
Alicia, are you done?
I am.
Thank you.
God bless America.
Mr. Oberdorfer, for Hampton Golf Services, was that part of the regular bidding process that we have, or was there some kind of special bidding process for that one?
Correct. So we did an RFP back in, I want to say it was 22, Amy? Beginning of 22?
Yes.
Yes, and so we put it out to bid. We received several respondents. We went through and interviewed several of the people that were interested in it, and Hampton evaluated out the best.
And then I know you said you don't quite have the final numbers for 2023. Was the shortfall estimated in 23 to be smaller than it was in 22?
Yes.
Okay.
Was there and there was an increase in the number of people playing because of the weather and other factors over 22?
Yeah, there were over 20,000 rounds played at the course in 2023, which is the highest that I'm aware of ever.
And we did we did recently vote to increase the fees for people on the course, so they'll be kind of picking up more of their own tab rather than the city, hopefully.
Hopefully, yes,
All right.
sir.
Thank you.
Adam Cease, 1853 West Parkway. I don't really golf, and my old neighbor Casey Levy could beat me at golf, so shout out to Casey. But the one thing I did do, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, I did work for Piqua City Schools for 5 years, and I drove our young people to the golf course. The other thing I know is working for some of the bigger companies around town that they use that as a meeting place. Now, whether that's great and important to a lot of people, I don't know, but that's just something I thought I'd mention. It does benefit the young people, maybe not as much as a swimming pool, and you all know that I want a infinity pool down at Loch 9 Park, but I don't know if I'm going to get that. You know, I don't know anything about a golf course, so I don't know about the budget. I would like to see it fiscally responsible, and zero at least probably should be something that we look at doing in the next 5 years. But nobody mentioned that we have high school and junior high golf leagues, and a lot of kids play golf. I know a lot of young people. I know a lot of the Gen Z that worked for me, they play golf, and they could all kick my butt too. So let's not forget about the people that do enjoy the golf course. Thanks.
Jeff Grimes, 1314 Maplewood Drive. If, once again, the country club may be different, but it has to make money to stay in business. It's unfair for the city to be able to just allocate thousands and thousands of dollars. You're in competition with a company that has to make money. That is not even right. So it's never made money. I think maybe the city should consider getting out of the golf course business. Maybe you guys could get into a partnership with the country club, or I'm not sure, but we don't have a pool. Our town streets are terrible. I can continue, but we're throwing money. Whether you like to golf or you don't like to golf, the city should not be in this. It's losing all kinds of money, and it's in direct competition with a company that has to make money to stay in business. That's not fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number R-18-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Moving on. Next to resolution number R-19-24.
A resolution authorizing a purchase order for 3 marked police cruisers and upfitting costs.
Excuse me. Good evening, Commissioners. This is part of our ongoing strategic fleet replacement plan, and we budgeted to replace 3 marked patrol cars that were purchased in 2019. The traditional bid process that goes through the state bids over the last several years has changed from year to year, and we're in a situation this year where we've not received any notification of a bid process even happening for every make of patrol vehicles. So we reached out to the dealerships that we've used for the last several years, and none of them have received any information as to when a process would open for 2024 vehicles. And in the process of soliciting that information, we were contacted by Montross Auto Group, and we're advised that they have several 2023 Dodge Durangos identical to the ones that we purchased the last several years in their fleet that were built in October and November of last year. The asking price for the 2023 Dodge Durangos, and they're new vehicles, they're not used, was approximately $700 more than what we had purchased the previous year. And with that information, those vehicles are available immediately. And if we had a bid process, if it ever did open up, we would be looking at almost 8 to 9 months if we were lucky in receiving vehicles. So this offer to purchase the 2023 Dodge Durangos, it would be beneficial to the police department, as we would have these vehicles in all likelihood within a couple of weeks of you, if you were to approve this resolution. So when you look at the asking price, we had budgeted $189,000 for the 3 marked vehicles. And that seems higher than previous years because normally our upfitting of the patrol cars is budgeted in our operations budget. And the new finance director advised us to include that cost in the capital because it is an improvement to the capital purchase. So when you look at the bids, $123,000 would be for the 3 marked patrol cars, and then $66,000 would be the upfitting cost for the 3 of them. And that would be put out to bid for the upfitting to get the best price, obviously. But with the 3 vehicles, the intention is to upfit one of those as a K-9 vehicle with the plan to obviously implement a K-9 program later this year. So that would be part of that fleet maintenance and replacement plan.
Great. Any questions from commissioners?
Yes, I do. As a former member of the law enforcement community, I think this is awesome. Also, what is it, $123,000 for 3 vehicles? I've been looking at trying to buy a new truck, and if you go real high level with the truck, that's almost $123,000. So score, good job. My big question is this: you're replacing previously owned vehicles that, I mean, obviously those vehicles still work, right?
Correct. They're still in service today.
So is there anything in this that if we sell those vehicles afterwards that we could recoup some of these costs?
Right. What we typically do with the vehicles that we replace is first we offer them up to any of the other departments within the city that could utilize them, given the condition that they're in. And then from there, if we do not allocate them to other departments, we would put them up on eGov for sale. And then any of that money that we would receive back goes into a fund for vehicle replacement.
Okay, cool.
And we've been getting fairly decent prices on eGov, surprisingly, for these vehicles. So that, I mean, it's worked out for us in the last 2 years, 3 years.
You said this was for the replacement, so you're definitely going to be retiring 3 vehicles?
Yes, we have a rotation plan that's on a 5-year rotation plan, and typically you go from a vehicle that we replace after 5 years, depending on who the 2 officers that are using them, because they're in service for, essentially 24/7. They could have in that time anywhere from 85 to 90,000 miles up to 145, 165,000 miles on them. So the maintenance at that point becomes ineffective cost-wise. It just exceeds the value, the purchase value. So it's just that it's been a good period of time to rotate them in and out.
How quick after you get these in service, after they get their upfit and get ready to go, how soon after that do you anticipate retiring them? Are you going to put them on the market or put them on offer to other departments immediately?
It's immediate. Once we get the vehicle back from the upfitting, actually in that, we take the equipment out of the old car that's reusable and put it in the new car, so they go out of service immediately upon receiving the new car and getting the upfitting scheduled, so it's instantaneously. And then we typically get them on eGov within a month.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from commissioners? Any questions from citizens?
Dave Hitchings, 305 Westview. Does every police officer employed by Piqua have their own cruiser?
No, we have 13 marked cars, and we have 2 officers signed to each car. So, and again, we work 12-hour shifts, so if you're assigned a day shift, one guy will be assigned that, and then a night shift guy will be assigned to a car, so they share a car.
Because I've heard many times, and I've said it myself, go by the police station, like, there's a bunch of cruisers sitting there. Why do we have so many cruisers if they're sitting in the parking lot all the time?
Right, well, and again, typically we have 6 to 7 officers working on a shift. That's when a full shift. And so we have one person, that's half of our fleet right there already gone. So if we have a couple vehicles out for maintenance, or if we have vehicles that need to be used for court or transports outside of the city, anything like that, those numbers can be depleted pretty quick. And then likewise, when those 7 cars are being used during day shift, we don't use the same 7 cars at night shift. Otherwise, it would literally be running 24/7. So when night shift comes on, they use the other 6 or 7 cars so that that car's sitting for 12 hours, and then the next shift they'll be back in service. So that we have just enough vehicles. We can't go less. Otherwise, you will literally be running them 24/7.
And you probably have a maintenance schedule on too, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Good questions, Dave. Thank you. I'm excited to hear about canine program. That's exciting.
It'll be exciting to get that up and running.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number R-19-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is resolution number R-20-24.
A resolution to continue participation in a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan in conjunction with the Miami County Emergency Management Agency.
Yes, this item relates to the Miami County Hazard Mitigation Plan that's required to be updated every 5 years. And the city of Piqua has participated in this initiative with other county agencies and the other jurisdictions for quite some time, actually. Since 2011, actually, is the date. The Hazard Mitigation Committee's purpose is to address sustained actions that reduce or eliminate the long-term risk to human life and property from foreseeable or unforeseeable hazards, I should say. These mitigation activities are included within the plan, and once completed, their intent is to reduce future damages, death, or injuries that would occur during natural disasters, tornadoes, floods, other types of events similar to that, terrorist activities and such. So the mitigation plan is trying to make sure that the community is prepared as possible to be able to respond to those things. More importantly, by participating in the program and adopting the mitigation plan that's jointly prepared by all the jurisdictions with the county at the lead, it makes us eligible for the funding that can be made available to communities to address these types of items.
Any questions from commissioners?
Is this the kind of group and planning session that would benefit Piqua if, for instance, something like what happened in East Palestine last year were to, unfortunately, God forbid, happen here?
Yeah, correct. So it looks at, the CSX rail line, I'm sure, is an area that's identified in the mitigation plan as a point of concern in terms of the type of product that's transported on the rail line. So should something happen, how do we respond to that so that we can minimize the fallout?
And then to our city manager, are you satisfied with, I guess, like the work product that this group has come up with? Is there places where you think that they could improve at? Is this a useful thing for you as a city manager?
It is, and it's always a work in progress. And so, at the end of the day, you can't be prepared for everything, but we want to cover as many bases as we can.
Any other comments? Any comments from citizens?
Diana Park, Brenson Lane. Do you know if lithium-ion batteries are allowed to be transported on?
It would go to the city manager.
Oh, okay.
Questions?
Do you know if lithium-ion batteries are allowed to be transported on the train?
You would have to contact the Federal Rail Authority.
Okay.
There are conditions for transportation, whether it's over the road or if it's rail, if it's, on a ship, but I don't work in that industry.
Do you know if we transported any in town or exported any out of town on the train?
I don't understand what that has to do with the.
I just was asking because it's interesting, and I was asking you if you knew that.
Does that?
It doesn't apply, does it apply to the Miami County EMA?
Yes, it does. It does because we've had lithium-ion batteries in town.
Okay.
I don't know if we still do. So I'm asking if it's allowed to be transported by train.
Anybody that is in custody of those lithium-ion batteries, anything that has a chain of custody that is required to be transported, it's up to them to follow the regulations.
Okay, and do you know if we transported any?
The city does not
In or out?
transport anything like that, no.
Okay. We sell containers leaving on trains, so I was just asking.
Okay. Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve Resolution R-20-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to resolution number R-21-24.
A resolution regarding the applied for liquor permit for PB 43 Petroleum LLC at 8855 North County Road 25A, Piqua, Ohio 45356.
This is when the Department of Liquor, when someone asks for a liquor license, I'm sorry about my voice. When they look at issuing a liquor license, they ask if the local commission or the local city has any objection to the liquor license being issued. This one is the gas station out on 25A North. It's for it's for wine and beer carry on and off premises, and it also offers Sunday sales.
Is this a change in?
This is just, I'm not sure if it's a change or not. We just get this from the Department of Liquor that they've applied for this license, and they want to know if the commission has any objections to it.
We're talking about the Albrecht Superstation out on 25A.
Formally, yes.
Yes, the other name, yeah.
Chief of Police, do you have any objection to it? Do you have any objection to?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Okay. Any other questions from commission? Any questions from citizens? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number R-21-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Commissioner DeBras, prior to public comment, you have some you want to bring up?
Yes, I would like to ask the city manager to help me get a better idea.
Use your mic.
Of what what we've heard in the media regarding the Washington Township and Spring Creek Township fire and EMS contracts. So if you'll bear with me here, I got a couple of questions I'd like to ask you. I'll do them pretty rapid fire. The first couple are simple, either yes or no or date, right? So do we currently have a contract with Washington Township and Spring Creek Township to provide fire and EMS services? Are we currently under contract with them?
We're currently holding over the contract that expired in December 31st of 2022.
So that contract expired in 2022.
Correct.
And we operated under the premise of that expired contract for 2023, all of 23.
All of 23, and we currently are still
Currently
under
in
that.
24.
Yeah.
What was the length of that contract that expired in 22? Was that a 1-year deal, 2-year deal?
It was a 3-year deal, and so subsequently the contracts that were before that were 3-year with, I believe, a 4-year renewal, and the one that started in 2010.
Okay. So let me ask this one. I'm going to change the order here a little bit. Who's responsible for providing fire service to Washington Township and Spring Creek Township?
Currently? Or
who is responsible for that?
The city of Piqua.
So we are responsible to provide fire service to Washington Township and Spring Creek Township.
You mean obligated or responsible? I'm trying
Obligated.
Obligated? No. We're obligated to the residents of city of Piqua.
Okay, great. So once that contract expired in 2022, and we decided to operate under the existing, have we met with anyone regarding getting this back under contract or under deal so both entities are protected?
Yeah, so if I recall, we met August 22nd of 2023 with both townships in a joint meeting to go over the new contract values and have them understand that we were emulating the contract model that Troy employs, primarily with Concord Township that has 18,000 residents.
In that August meeting, who requested that meeting?
We requested the meeting.
Okay. Well, kudos to us for doing that. And once that meeting, you mentioned the formula that you came up with. And help me here, because I'm assuming that in that formula that we created, that we presented these townships, this formula was put in place to cover the cost of these runs, right? Like, we didn't decide that, heading into this year, we're going to operate this as a business and put a 20%, 30% surcharge in that. This is purely a formula that was based off of the cost. Am I correct in that assumption?
That's correct. It basically takes into account the administrative overhead, depreciation of assets, what it costs to deliver that service, and then it's a split between how many runs in the previous year were made for fire and EMS services in Washington Township, Spring Creek Township, and with the city. So we're all paying that same run cost.
Okay. Now, bear with me, just a couple more, I promise. These ones will be quick, too. Do you have any idea how much the average citizen of the city of Piqua pays for police and fire services?
I can tell you, I've been doing the math on this because I knew it'd be a hot topic, and I did not include the full public safety, but for fire services, when you break it down, because our residents pay 0.75% of income taxes is earmarked for our fire, as is the 0.125% of the safety levy. And then we have general fund contribution that goes to that. So all in for a resident, for those three categories, if you take our population, our 5-year census average, which is 20,441, that equates to $313 per resident for services per year.
$313.
Yes.
You wouldn't happen to have any idea how much the average resident of Washington Township pays for their fire and EMS services, would you?
So Spring Creek and Washington are very close. Washington Township is $78.34, and Spring Creek is $76.14 annually.
So just so I understood that correctly, the average citizen of Piqua pays $313 a year, and we're just talking fire and EMS, correct?
Correct.
And for Spring Creek and Washington Township, it is
$78.34 in Washington and $76.14 in Spring Creek.
All right.
400%.
Are those numbers based off of the formula?
That's not based off. That's the current contract that basically it's based off the holdover contract amount for fire protection, which includes EMS of $109,678 for Washington and $163,234 for Spring Creek Township.
So under what our opening offer was to the townships, how much of an increase would it go per resident?
So I've been working on that since we had the first meeting, and so I picked just 2 properties that were adjacent to the township. And when you look at, there was a Spring Creek Township property that's on Looney Road. They were paying $88 a year for the contract value, and the increase would take it up to $200, which is $9.33 a month increase. In Washington Township, we looked at a property on North Sunset. They're also adjacent to so next door to the city.
Sure.
And they're paying $122 currently. It would go up to $243. That's $10.12 a month increase.
So they're still paying almost $100 less than the resident of the city of Piqua.
That's by the property.
Just based off of those specific
right.
properties. Yeah. All right. Well, then my last question is, why the hell they get such a good deal?
Well, I looked. So I went back today and we pulled out the old fire contracts and looked at the history of it. And the histrionics are basically in 2010, that the current administration was charging 60% of what the cost was based on what their cost methodology was, and I don't know where they came up with their numbers. It's not enumerated in any of the documents. So not understanding how they came up with those numbers, I contacted my counterpart down in Troy and inquired how did they, come up with their value. They shared the spreadsheet that they had used for several years, and basically it's conducting business, right? It gets you down to what it costs to deliver that service.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me that little exercise
No
to
problem.
try to understand this. And please, if
wanted
any of
that.
you have anything to add.
No, you
I
covered
yield back.
mine, but go ahead. Tom.
Yeah, I'm just curious how. I guess after a contract expires, how did it continue on for another year? Is it just kind of like common courtesy, inertia? I know it's very difficult to just cut people off of life-saving services, but
Well,
is that why?
Well, there's a few things. So when you look at public safety, we're obligated to the citizens of Piqua, right? And we have outstanding services that are exceptional. I've experienced them myself. Now, we extended those services under contract to the townships, and to pull that back in without any notice or negotiations, to me, is a disservice to the greater community.
There was notices to the township leading up to the end of the contract and after the contract was ended, though, correct?
Correct. And we started talking about this internally it was about 3 months into my tenure. I had the former fire chief, look into it because it just came off as not covering our costs. And so it took us a little bit of time internally to figure out what that looked like and get the documents. And then by the time we got to the end of 22, knowing that 23 was coming, and we still had no forward momentum with the townships, it essentially is a handshake deal to try to get us to where we need to be.
Gotcha. So those two townships kind of just weren't paying attention, or just hoping that we would continue being benevolent?
Well, they were. Our city attorney was in contact with them, and it's a negotiation process. And the formal notice and the formal meeting held August 22nd of 2023. I believe he orchestrated getting that meeting put together.
Okay.
Well, they should probably be sending you a thank you card.
I appreciate that, but ultimately we just want people to be safe and provide services.
Agreed.
Do you have a desire for how this would resolve itself?
Well, again, we provide outstanding services, and I want to do the greater community the benefit of if we can contract and extend our service range to provide Washington and Spring Creek with those services. And one of the big things people don't talk a lot about is 75. And we were talking with the interim fire chief this morning about, who do you send down there when you have to react? And it's definitely apparatus and your most highly trained individuals. And I don't know that you can get that under contract. And it could be our residents that just happen to be in the township.
Does servicing those two townships, how does it affect our capacity in both of those services? And is there, if we were to change the nature of that relationship by either removing it or keeping it, would that affect kind of the overhead cost and how you're dividing out all that with the capacity and the cost of the Piqua citizens?
Right, and it goes back to just the staffing, when you talk about manning the station and how many people you need. And currently we have three med units that go out, so it's not very often we have to call for mutual aid in terms of EMS. Fire is a different thing, and again, having volunteer fire companies that are going to respond in the length of time it takes versus a professional firefighter, it's a really big delta in service.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, fellas. And thank you, City Manager.
Mr. Mayor.
Trying to be open about this. Little transparency. No. During his session, he can. Gotcha. During your comments, you can.
Make that motion?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to do it now, or you want to do it?
I didn't think that was, I didn't know if it was now or during
Wherever.
comments.
I want to get some public comment in.
Okay. Well, I figured if I mention it now, someone might have something to say to it about
Sure.
it afterwards. Anyway.
Sure, you go right ahead.
So we met in executive session earlier, and I presented to the remaining, the other commissioners, the motion that we ask Mr. Oberdorfer to step down as city manager. There was much discussion. Mr. Oberdorfer came back in, and so we wound up kind of leaving things all up in the air, and I came out here and asked, well, what do we do now? And I was informed that I could make the motion, and if I get a second from one of my other commissioners, that there would be a hearing, and public hearing, and that's absolutely grand. I think that if anyone's going to say anything, that's a great place for it all to come out. If anyone has evidence that there was anything going on that shouldn't have been, great place to bring it out. Any way that, you know, the city manager can, you know, answer for those things, that's a great place for it. Bring it all out in the open. No more he said, she said, because I get a lot of he said, she said over the course of the last month. So I'm going to make my motion that we ask Mr. Oberdorfer to step down as city manager. Can I get a second?
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Alicia, be quiet, please. Thank you. Motion dies for lack of a second. All right. So we are now at the point of public comment, and you can bring this up if you'd like, whenever. Just because you made it.
I already did.
Yeah, but you can, if something else happens and you want to bring it up, you're entitled to.
It's time
So,
for them to talk.
well, it is. I'm talking about in the future.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, thank you. For public, we are now going to go to public comments. When conducting open forum at the end of the meeting, the following rules will be followed. Comments and questions by the public shall be addressed to the commission, mayor, and/or city manager in a civil, respectful manner and shall be limited to 5 minutes, period, per person. The mayor shall notify the person commenting as to when his 5 minutes period for comments is about to expire, and the person commenting can request additional time, and it shall be within the mayor's discretion to permit the person to comment longer. No person shall be permitted to comment twice in the open forum at the same meeting. Under no circumstances shall any member of the public address or ask questions other than the city manager to city staff members. If appropriate, the city manager may direct the city staff member to answer questions or respond to comments from the public. And with that in mind, it is open for public comment.
Hello, Valerie Mulliken. I live on Piqua Clayton Road. I am the Director of Operation Veteran and Caregiver Support, and I'm here tonight to ask a couple of questions about some things that I've asked about before, and also to bring to the table some information about what we are doing.
Yes, we want to hear what you're doing.
Thank you. We are expanding. We are growing exponentially. Our community of veterans here in the Miami Valley is very robust. We have a food pantry that is open 1 day a week that we are offering services to veterans and their families. They can come once a month. That food pantry has become very prolific.
How's it supplied?
Is supplied all through donations, so all community donations. So you can donate canned goods, you can donate boxed foods, you can donate money to support buying toiletries and, you believe it or not, toilet paper, paper towels, laundry soap, hair care products, things like that, feminine supplies, baby diapers are a hot item, or hot items. It is my understanding that the Bethany Center sees between 75 and 80 families a week come through their food pantry. We are seeing 7 average veteran families a week. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yep, I'm with you.
That being said, we are outgrowing our space very quickly. So we are currently located at the Riverside Place Plaza at the at the Piqua Center Plaza out there. And so we are in the process of trying to navigate what that looks like, if we can retrofit our space, if we can find a place to move to. A lot of things going on, so we will keep the community apprised of that as we move forward. We are offering the Muster and Mingle here in Piqua still. That event is held on the first Tuesday of every month, and we are excited that we have launched a partnership with the Miami County YMCA. So we are meeting at the Senior Center there at the corner of Downing and High Street. That is, again, the first Tuesday of every month from 5 to 8 p.m. Dinner is provided at no cost to our veterans, their families, our active duty members, National Guard members, widows of veterans. They are more than welcome to come and join us. Bring your children. We do not send anybody away that wants to come into that event. We provide a guest speaker, activity, or entertainment. This has become a really, really big program. We have 2 of those a month, one in Tip City and one in Piqua. We thought the one in Piqua would kind of be reduced, and actually it was increased. So when we moved, because we were at the Piqua Center. So good problem to have. We're bringing people in.
You are.
And that's a good problem to have. We also, in 2023, assisted 11 homeless, jobless veterans. A community member here in Piqua, property owner, has approached us on 3 separate occasions regarding a property that they have that they are interested in seeing turned into veteran apartments. Nice. And so we have gone and looked at the property, and we believe that initially we could create 12 one-bedroom efficiency apartments that are all handicap accessible. That is a key factor right there, handicap accessibility. Because while not all of our veterans are amputees or are broken enough that they can't get up and down stairs, we do know that our veteran community is an aging population. They do suffer a lot of injuries, so having that accessibility is very important to them. With the ability to expand that property in the future. We are just now in the fact-finding stage of this. So we are looking for volunteers, people who are experienced in this, to step up and help us, because we're looking at funding needs, we're looking at architectural needs, we are looking at development needs, and we need those skill sets. We don't have those on our board. So I'm here tonight to put a plea out to our community. We are looking for public-private partnerships to make this happen. We do believe that the need is great, and probably greater than we realize. And it's not going to get any better when the cost of living allowance within the Department of Veterans Affairs is 2.4% or 3.6% this year, and the cost of inflation is 30%. So these veterans live on a fixed income. Oftentimes they are compensated less than what they probably should be. And it takes sometimes years to get their compensation where it should be. So having affordable, safe housing for them is very important, and this would be something that we would look at structuring to be a temporary measure, empowering them, following our mission, which is to connect, empower, and transform, empowering them to grow into a better place. So that's the big thing going on with Operation Veteran and Caregiver Support. So thank you for allowing me to give you that information tonight.
Appreciate you and what you do.
Thank you. We enjoy what we do. It's a lot of work, but we love it. And we love our veterans and their families, and we invite them to come in. And listen, all of you are welcome to join us. You are part of this community, and you help our veterans, our men and women who serve this country. You help them reintegrate and move into the community to be a community participants. So you are all welcome to join us at any given time. And we would welcome you to stop into our food pantry and see what we're doing every Thursday from 10 to 1, 987 East Ash Street, Suite A3. We're between the recruiter station and the dentist office.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything that you do. And can I just also add, we had a presentation during presentation time about taking care of our community cats, which is very important. I think taking care of our veterans is even more important.
Yeah.
So please, if you ever feel like you want to do a wider presentation or do a presentation again, please reach out to the city manager and we can get you on the agenda. I definitely think that would be definitely a great use for that time on the agenda.
It's that way as opposed to
I would
just
love to
five.
do that. On that same note of accessibility, what are we doing about handicap accessible parking downtown Piqua?
I asked that question. as a matter of
We
fact.
got to get this done, guys. Listen, it's literally paint on the pavement
Can't
and
do-
some signs.
Can't do that right now
Okay.
with the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's construction that's done during the construction season because you have to have minimum 50-degree temperatures to apply any kind of pavement marking. But so right now what they're doing is they're going out and doing live surveys every day to see where vehicles are being parked and try to get a utilization. And so there's 2 steps to it. You have to identify where all the spaces are, and then the second step is identify how often they're being used. And we'll give that information to our consultants to help guide us through accessibility and making sure that we have the appropriate number of van and accessible spaces.
Can I work with that person, please? Because I was supposed to do that with Kirsten French.
Yeah, so
I would really like to work with them.
Chad Henry's our planner, and I believe he's providing the oversight to get that done. And he's down in the community and development services.
Can
Okay.
you get her that information?
Yeah.
So that,
I would really appreciate that. I would
Right
really
down to
like
the
to
hall.
work with them. I want to see this community be as accessible as possible. We have an incredible downtown, you guys, and it is not accessible. It is not friendly to people who are handicapped. Whether they're just walking with a cane, or they're in a wheelchair or a walker, or they may not have anything visibly going on with them, but maybe they have a respiratory or a heart condition, and we're seeing a lot of heart conditions coming up right now. We need to make our town accessible, and I'm going to tell you, I'd spend a heck of a lot more time downtown if it were more accessible to my family.
Agreed.
So,
We'll
thank
continue to
you.
work on it.
And Mr. Oberdorfer, I brought your book tonight. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
brought him public-private partnerships. Go right ahead, sir.
Dave Hitchings, 305 Westview. Veterans are important.
Yes, sir.
Cats are important.
Yes, sir.
I hear no talk about the homeless people.
They're important. You called me, as a matter of fact.
Right. And I hear no talk about,
Well, you're going to hear a little bit from me because I'm a person who's been in contact with the Bethany Center, especially in cold weather.
Yeah, cold shelter.
Because that facility is in my ward,
We get more time.
I've developed a relationship with Sean, and we talk often about how many people, how that facility operates and all those kind of things.
Good.
And also, there's another component to that, which is that on some occasions, we have problems with sexual offenders who are using the Bethany Center as their address. And so that's another issue. The bottom line to this is I think there is ongoing discussion about the need for a facility, how big it should be, whether we need a separate facility for sexual offenders as opposed to, non-sexual offenders. And so ongoing discussion. And I think Sean would be open to hearing from you if you want to talk directly with him. I think he would be there. I think we're averaging about 7 people a night in degree days, and I think that means anytime the temperature falls below 32. I think that's my
Yep.
understanding.
All right. You got your time, but keep going.
I also have a question for the city manager. I heard you mention twice tonight that you're using Troy as a model city. Troy is not a charter, as far as I know. This is a charter, right? Why are we using a city that's not a charter as a model? I don't know all the differences between the charter and whatever Troy is, but it just don't seem like it should be that you're using them as a model.
Yeah, so they're statutory, we're charter, and that's just basically how the city functions. But in terms of the budget and how their fire is being funded, we're all very similar. So the difference there doesn't really calculate into when you take their model and you plug our numbers into it, it plugs right into it.
Does it? Okay. Just I know there's a lot of people who want to get rid of the charter. I'm one of them. And to hear you say you're using another city as a model that's not a charter, I'm like, well, maybe we should switch to statutory.
There's, I'll just say that there's pros and cons to both.
Right. Good.
Thanks, Dave. Anyone else?
I'm not gonna let you guys off easy. I'm coming up. Diana Park, Brunson Lane. I want to go back to the notice of violation with the EPA. And it talked about the containment system and how it was supposed to be done.
The
This
water
just-
containment system
the-
or the containment
The
system? for-
water containment, catch basin, whatever you want to call it. So they were supposed to backfill it with clean soil. They didn't, and they used, I went back to the emails how long that soil had been laying there, and it had been laying there for a year. So contaminated. And you sit and watch them using that pile. And I just felt like, the city should have been more involved in this to make sure this was done right. So that bothered me. So then, I made a public request, and it took 2 months to get it. And in the documents, the city's told flat out from the Ohio EPA, Amber Hicks, reminded them that they didn't see any issue with what they were doing, but there's a summary sheet of exactly, they explain what they do, but I kept on asking for it and was never given. But the EPA says that they do not see any issue with what they're doing, though they do not give an okay for the burning of it. So they were warned not to burn it, yet they turned around and burned it. So, of course, I've been wondering I've asked, who oversaw this? So I go through all the emails, and from 2018 to 2021, it's mostly Chief Paul Snyder with some of the companies. Now and then you would hear from Bowling Green. From 21, everything changed. And I think that we discussed this in the September 19th commission meeting. What changed? And all of a sudden, all the emails are our city manager talking with everybody. So when I asked who was overseeing it, you said different departments. It was actually you in the emails. Now and then there'd be the water department. But so that was a flat out lie when I asked that, because I even asked about the contracts, and you said that was before you. But yet you signed 2 contracts in 21. So in December, I asked the commission, was there any contracts, agreements, anything with Nick Warner's name on it? No. But yet I have a user agreement. Paul signed it in 21. Sorry, the city manager signed it in 21. So I have an issue with all of this because nothing's being transparent, and then once you get the reports, your documents, you're finding out this is a lie. And
Diane, we're going to address your transparency here shortly.
okay, in with the agreement with Nick again, it says, it's an email from Paul saying, if you want to bring copies of your policies, I can have our law director. So our law director is all involved in this, and Paul signs truly yours. It shows a very close part, and he even says a partnership. So this wasn't a rogue person. It talks that this is our city's burn company. I didn't know Piqua had their own burn company, but it says so in the documents. So then it talks about greenwashing. Greenwashing. Yes, greenwashing. So if our citizens don't know, that's misleading us, false, making the environment like it's not as bad, but it's all in here that they're greenwashing because they actually were going to do recycling too. I have the email where it says, I also have Nick Warner ready to assist in any way we can. He has some connection in Columbus and is our battery lithium ion testing company owner, ESRG, out at the old water plant. So you look through the contracts and the years, and it doesn't add up why our fire department doesn't have a fire ladder truck. The money, where's all the money for our fire department?
I'll find out.
Yeah, so it was used by water funds, and our water funds are supporting paying utility bills, all kinds of stuff out there.
Okay.
And then I asked for the grants.
Then your time's actually up. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
the grants,
Go ahead.
though, were not given to our fire department.
Okay.
I can find that.
Okay.
So if you guys, sorry, just 1 minute.
Sure, go
I
ahead.
love how you all did this to support about the fire department with Spring Creek and my township, Washington Township. You all answered all these questions. Fabulous. Where have you guys been for the lithium
Have
ion?
that. We got it.
I know, but where have you been? You should have been doing that.
Yep.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Stay for the end of the meeting. You might be surprised.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Thomas. Next.
Debbie Stein, 1810 Carroll Drive. I want to do a little history and background, mainly on myself. I'm not certain if, is this working?
Yeah, you just gotta get close.
Yeah.
I'm not certain if commission and citizens are aware of this, so it's just a little disclosure. I retired from the city of Piqua. I worked there over 20 years. I worked over 20 plus years at Upper Valley Medical Center. All of my evaluations from 4 city managers were superior. I worked for an additional 3 assistant city managers and numerous economic development directors. I worked very hard. My husband is a retired firefighter, paramedic. He is dearly loved in this community.
He is.
He's dearly respected. We've raised 4 wonderful boys. They're all productive, and they are amazing.
They are.
And we are thank you.
I know.
Very, very proud of them. I have many family members, most I think love me,
Sure.
and many friends that are dear to my heart. So I just want to say now is not a time when you retire and you are no longer employed with the entity that you have worked for, that you be degraded. I don't think any of you would appreciate that. Thomas, I first met you when I was asked by friends and family to attend Nicklin Avenue with the whole housing, packing the houses in there. And I remember meeting you. And Frank, so I know that's why you got involved in commission. Frank, you got involved because neighbors talked to you, the whole stormwater issue, people losing property, land. I was going to run, and when I saw your name, I'm like, he's the guy. So, thank you. I know Paul Simmons, he was the only candidate. He was only one, the one and only, and he was asked by his wife, I just heard, and by many citizens, because there were issues. So you all came on board because of issues, right? Well, I don't think because you were doing what you were doing that you were shamed. Well, might have been a name calling here and there, and I know that for a fact. But you weren't shamed. You weren't ridiculed. So I attended a lot of meetings because I was asked to attend. One, of course, the Nicklin Avenue, and you guys took charge and you ran with that. Piqua Materials, Fox Drive issues, I had family and friends ask me to support, and I gladly did so. It's in litigation, you cannot talk about it. We'll see how that all ends up, because that was a real fiasco. And then you had the whole thing out in Indian Ridge where you went against your own comprehensive plan and rezoned something that was supposed to be housing in the future. So you messed with all those citizens out there. And you know that. I'll direct these to you. So I've asked questions. Yeah, I'm upset. I asked questions, and every time I asked a question, I was told, because sometimes he wasn't answering me, Mr. Oberdorf, he wasn't answering me, so I went to you guys, not all of you that are seated here, but I was told I was gaslighting him. I was told, because I spoke at commission meetings, and I've got these in emails, that I don't understand Robert's Rules of Order. You don't know how to address commission, I was told. I'm addressing you guys how I feel like I want to address you. I was told I didn't understand government functions when I asked about the budget issues. So I got an email about that. And you guys all need to know this. It was like, how dare you? How dare you ask me, king on the throne, questions, because I'll degrade you. I've heard about the name calling. I've heard it about me. I've heard it about in the office. I heard about your request to look at my emails. I don't know if you found anything about 9300 State Route 66. And I'd like to know if you took the oath of office for, or not the oath of office, but ICMA. Did you join ICMA? International City Managers Association?
I'm a member of ICMA.
Member? Yeah, well, I need time here. I need to finish this. You guys need to hear this.
I'll give you some time. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Just ask.
I think when you are a member of that, you're supposed to have integrity. You don't go back and go into employees' deleted emails. You don't talk about previous city managers. That is something that should be left alone. And I know there's been a couple that have teetered off of that, and that's not a good thing. But these are ethics. These are things that in our community we want. We want transparency, we want honesty, we want integrity. We don't want name calling. I've retired. I retired with dignity. I retired with superior evaluations. I worked hard. My husband worked hard. We raised our kids in these communities. I have found you to be deceitful. You have been deceitful, disrespectful, and I could go on. Your attempt to search and blame me, you're not going to find. You're not going to find anything that I was connected, and you know better, because do you ask your assistant to get involved in contract negotiations? You know better. That was a witch hunt. That's what you did. Commissioners, we've worked hard to help you. We really have worked hard. You say that we can't present any information now. We're done, because no more of this back and forth, because
Said that.
I heard that this evening. No more back and forth.
No, I said I wanted it
You want it
everything
to, so it would
brought out in
end.
the open.
So,
See,
I mean, there's
you got
a,
to be correct when you say stuff, though.
well,
I mean,
what I'm saying here is absolutely factual. I'm not.
I know. Well,
you
what
know?
I'm saying, but
And
we
there's
want you to bring stuff
there's
up.
a lot more
It-
that, I mean, I can print off emails.
I know.
We can print off emails in your consulting group. That's your friends that you toast at Agave and Rye. After you give them the contract, that's pretty shady too.
All right, I'm gonna have to end your time there.
Okay.
But here's the thing: you want us to be transparent, we will be, and we're gonna discuss something here shortly that will allow us to be. I'm not cutting you off. You're past the 5 minutes, Debbie. I've given you even extra time. You have helped us, and thank you. Thank you. You did.
And we had a lot of rebellion. He was rebellious against us, and name called, did everything he could
You are.
help to get this finished, that the burns don't take place.
Yep. And we appreciate that.
I'm asking
And I thank you.
to do that. There's some level of respect, and this nonsense here stops.
Okay.
It stops in our community.
All right. Thank you. No one was trying to cut you off, but, you know, you went way past. So.
Hi, Mom.
Name?
Getting set up so I can maximize my time.
Okay.
All right. My name is Alicia Lang, and I live outside the city on Troy Sidney Road in Spring Creek Township, which I love. I love my township. They make great decisions. So I guess today, I've heard a lot of things up here. What I'd like to cover is Jeff Lang, my dad's cousin. He had to leave. He told me that Paul told him that we would be reading the new MOU tonight. Specifically told him January 16th. So he asked that I make that known because he wanted to know what it said. But we're not reading that today. I emailed, because I heard of that. So I emailed the Department of Higher Education. I emailed the Department of Higher Education and also BGSU for the updated MOU. Okay. So here's the email that I got from Michael L. Stokes, Associate General Counsel of Bowling Green State University. Alicia, there is no new contract between BGSU and Piqua. The newest one is a joint use agreement between BGSU and the city of Piqua that became effective in September 2021, which you signed. And what was interesting is I requested a copy of that document, was given it by the law director, Frank Patrizio. It was weird. There were a lot of redactions, which is interesting. I don't know why it was redacted. That's why I asked for it for BG. They gave it to me unredacted. But what our city redacted was Paul's signature. So that's weird. I don't know why they didn't want me to know that Paul signed the agreement, but let me continue this email. A copy of that is attached in partial response to your public records request. BGSU and the city of Piqua, because I'm doing FOIAs everywhere, are in the process of amending this joint use agreement. So they're not redoing the MOU, they're only amending the joint use agreement. So I think what all 5 of you need to be aware of is in the MOU, which is not being changed, they can continue to burn lithium-ion batteries.
They're not going to burn any lithium.
Okay, well, it's in the contract that's not being changed, and you need to address that.
We will.
Thank you. BGSU and the city of Piqua are in the process of amending this joint use agreement, which will also require the approval of the Ohio Department of Higher Education, which I'm hoping won't approve. Once the amendment is finalized, I will send you a copy of it. So thank you, Michael. So here is portions of that joint use agreement that was amended out. This is part of the redacted. So it says Piqua owns and operates the Piqua Public Safety Regional Training Center, PPSRTC, an emergency response training center located at the former Piqua Waterworks that supports fire testing by private companies. So that's good to know. So I guess that's what they didn't want me to read. So I just thought that was interesting because Paul has said numerous times to numerous people coming up here who've asked you about a burn business, this battery burning. And well, right here it says that we do. We've got these battery companies. So I just want to know, why did you feel that burning lithium-ion batteries was good for the city of Piqua?
So the agreement started in 2017.
I'm asking the one that you signed.
Yeah. I'm
Because
getting to that.
things have
Please let me speak.
escalated since, right?
Right.
Glad we're in agreement.
So currently, we were going to bring before the commission the revised joint use agreement, and because of the amount of items that we had on the agenda, and I believe there were some other revisions that need to be made between the city attorney and Bowling Green, we pushed it to the first meeting in February. So it will be coming before you. In regards to the revisions that are made, there is no lithium-ion burning of batteries for testing.
So you are going to be rewriting the MOU?
You want to speak to that,
It's
Frank?
going to be amended to remove the burning of lithium-ion batteries out of it so that there would be no future burning of lithium-ion batteries.
I certainly hope
That's what
that's
it's
the
going
case.
to.
So, but why was this a good idea? Because you made a decision to sign that paper September 2021. Why was this a good idea in your mind? Like, oh yeah, Piqua should do this. Woo!
As I indicated, it was an R&D operation that I inherited, and along the way, things changed in terms of the operation, and once
It
it was
did. Yeah, it definitely transformed.
May I finish, please? Thank you. So along that timeline.
My time.
Go ahead.
You
let him
asked me a
finish, but I'll give you some more time. Go ahead, Paul.
I'm gonna.
So along that timeline, the operations changed out there, and when we went out and identified the magnitude or change in the scope of what they were doing, that was when it was determined by the city administration in concert with the previous commission that we were going to go ahead and ask ESRG to cease operations and to move out.
But why did you sign the paper September 2021? Because your job here is to be our fearless leader, to make great decisions for us, right? So
Respectful.
even if you've,
You got to be respectful.
I don't know if I could be neutral.
I know, but you
All
got to be
right.
respectful.
We're going to be neutral. I feel like I just don't, you're blaming it being an inherited problem. If it was an inherited problem and you didn't agree with it, then you wouldn't have signed in September on this document I'm reading, I would assume. So why was it a good idea? And don't blame the commission, because,
I'm not blaming the commission.
okay,
And it's simply what was transpiring out there the first year I got here. There was a lot to get assimilated to in a new environment. I was not out there every day and providing oversight. That was the fire chief that was doing the oversight. So under advisement from the fire chief and under the permitting of the EPA, RAPCA through the EPA, we were covering every aspect of what was supposed to be done out there in terms of the management of the site.
I mean, it sounds good that you say that, but I've got emails
All right,
from
Alyssa.
you that say we
Time's
need to
up,
keep them
Alyssa.
engaged and keep them
Alicia,
here.
your time's up.
It's
I let you
creepy that he signs emails truly yours. It's,
Thank you.
That's an auto signature on every single email that goes out, and if you look through the thousands of emails you've FOIA'd, you would see that. No. That is incorrect.
Anyone else?
Eva Silvers, 319 Third. I have a couple questions, and then I want to dive into something.
Sure.
And I want to be respectful of everybody in the room. Question one.
Yes.
Do we know what's going on with Moat?
Well, I thought I asked for someone to come and give a presentation tonight, but it'll be next commission meeting.
Okay. But,
So,
but they
yes.
are still
Oh,
moving forward with
Well,
that. Do
they
we
got to
know?
raise some money, and they got to do some this and that, but as far as I know, they're going to come and give a presentation. So
Okay.
I want to know as well. Thank you.
So that was one of my questions. Second
Good
question. I had to take a step back for a minute because obviously the city's had a lot going on, and I had some interest in that. I'll get to that in a minute, but the rental program, where are we at with that? I know we had talked about a panel, and we had talked about
Oh, yeah, I wanted
an
that, but
advisory
then-
board.
Then the people kind of rejected the
Yeah.
panel, and
so-
I'll bring that up again and see if they,
I would appreciate it.
I
I
will.
think people were misunderstanding when you
Yes.
actually brought that up. My thing is, it is winter. We're having Arctic temperatures. We do have a lot of homeless.
Understood.
I have talked to Sean from the Bethany Center. He does have the male shelter, but we do have women and children in the community that are homeless too. So I'd like to see something come in.
Dave's right. I mean,
Also, speaking of the Bethany Center, they're taking volunteers for their clothing pantry
okay.
too.
It's good to know.
Okay. Now, I am not here to make any commissioner mad, any citizen mad. And everybody knows with the battery burns, I was out there too.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm at a point where we've done the independent water test, waiting on the soil, waiting on the air. I've read a lot, and I've gotten a hold of some people that work with hazmat, because that's one of the things I'm into, and we've had some talks. And what I found out is that when you have a contract like this, and you guys are free to correct me, you're free to correct me if I'm wrong, but when something is brought forward, there are multiple entities involved in that situation, and there's supposed to be multiple oversights in that situation. I want whoever was held responsible, ultimately accountable, absolutely.
Sure.
What I don't want is every day of my community being like, we were the first atomic power plant, and now we're like the lithium-ion battery burning capital of the world. That is a bad image for Piqua. It's a bad image for all of us that live here. I do want answers. I think those answers are going to come.
We're working on them.
At first, I'm not going to lie, Paul, I was really, really, really upset with you. After talking to people in hazmat and finding out a little bit more, what I found is you walk into an existing contract, and with that contract, there are the other entities, and you may not know all of the entities or other LLCs. And honestly, looking at ESRG and over some of the information, there was multiple agencies involved. So it is kind of hard to handle 1,000 different agencies on top of everything else. What I would like to see is it be accountable. Let's have some accountability. Let's never allow it to happen again.
We won't.
But I would like to see my community move forward. We really have some issues. I mean, obviously the air, the soil, that is going to take time to address, and we know this. Even if you guys have to come forward with an independent crew to go over all of everybody's emails, all the notes, all the dictation, all of it, that would be wonderful, because then, you know, it's a third party. Everybody's sufficed at that point.
Funny you said that.
I really would like to see that, because I think there's never going to be a correct answer. Citizens are mad, they're upset, they have a right, you know. I think there's more to it than a lot of us understand, and I'll fully admit there's a lot more to it than I fully understand. Doesn't make me any more angrier. Speaking on our community, though, with our firefighter, Chris, you know, Frank, you know, 5 years ago, I had some pretty serious things happen in my family, and Piqua firefighters and EMS absolutely saved my grandson's life. Yeah. And when this came up with Spring Creek, I was really worried, because he now attends there, and he has those issues from that years ago. With that being said, I kind of am really hopeful that, which I've talked to Spring Creek, and they said, you know, if we ever come across a situation like that, and it was absolutely life or death, Piqua would respond anyways. But I'm hopeful that in both townships, you know, we can work something out there. I want to see my community heal. I do. We cannot move forward until we heal. And we have a lot. Like, I was just talking about the things going on at the mall for the kids, you know, Moe Park. You know, these are the things that I've been up here for 10 years advocating about. The kids, you know, are homeless. I think right now a lot of our citizens are divided, and we're not going to get anywhere unless we absolutely take everything everybody's got and give it to somebody that has no interest on either side of the party line, and they say, okay, this is what it is. This is what it caused. This is how it is.
All right.
So that's where I'm at with it.
Thank you, Eva. Appreciate it.
Adam Cease, 1853 West Parkway. While Eva was speaking, I heard some people in the background saying some not so nice things, and that brings me to my next point. Maybe it goes both ways. You know, I had a little disagreement with the group Toxic Piqua, and next thing I know, I'm being called names. I'm being told by the leader of that group that I need to go seek mental health. Well, you know, I run a successful business. I live in my own house. I have my own cars, and so I'm pretty sure my mental health is pretty good. Back to Paul. I have a question for you, Paul. In the year 2017, were you the city manager?
No.
Okay. Can you by yourself, if you disagree with something, let's say the battery burning, can you by yourself, without commissioner, without anybody else, put an end to it?
It depends on the operation, but overall, you know, I'm responsible for day to day, and that also means that every department, whatever they do, be it success or failure, I have a piece of that. In the end, though, when it comes to having oversight of that facility, ultimately it falls back on me, and that's why I took action when I did realize it.
And another question. On your day-to-day job, how many different things do you deal with? Because I know I deal with a heck of a lot, so I can imagine as running a city, you probably deal with quite a few more.
Well, so we have 13 departments, and we have 50 different areas of service that we deliver, and inside of that, we have probably several hundred programs.
So is it fair to say you didn't live out on Route 66 and check every little thing that was going on?
I did not.
That's probably not your responsibility, just like I'm not at every single job that my business does. So we can play the blame game all day long. I'm tired of it. The kids that were up here, and see, got people laughing behind me. That's how this works. You got I had a guy tell me that I had some crazy guy literally harassing me on Facebook from that little toxic group. So I've just about had enough of it. Look at those kids up here asking questions. I think they asked some better questions than some adults in this room.
That's the hardest question.
Some of those questions are so hard.
You want to know the greatest thing about kids? Because I worked with them for 5 years. I had the pleasure to do so. They have disagreements. They don't get along sometimes. But the next day, they come back, and they make up with each other. As adults, I mean, this is just, all of this is ridiculous, what I've seen. And, I had a lot of disagreements with the city coming into this. But I will say, through all those disagreements, I have never once been disrespected by anyone at the city. However, by some of the citizens in this town, I've been wholly disrespected. So, that being said, I don't agree with everything you do, Paul. We have some major disagreements with the code enforcement and things like that, but you're willing to work with me. So, another thing. Who in here wants to pay my car payment? Should you be paying my car payment? It's my car, isn't it? My mom lives in the Washington Township, okay? I want her to have Piqua Fire, but I shouldn't be paying for it. I think a city manager that is fiscally responsible and brings up the point, why are we subsidizing, why as Piqua citizens, are we subsidizing fire for the county? They should be paying for it. So I think that's a responsible thing to do. Now, I'm not up here, I'm not a huge, like I said, I'm not a 100% fan of the city. I think the rental inspection thing, I would like to see that undone and rewritten. I don't like the idea of somebody just being able to come in my house whenever they want. So I'm not 100% on either side. I see both sides. I got friends back here that, hopefully we can still be friends after what I just said. We should be able to. We should be able to be adults. Just like I can have a disagreement. I told Mr. Obendorfer that he cared more about cats in this town.
He did.
I did. It was rude. Than the people. He reached out to me. He didn't call me a mental health patient like some people. He reached out to me. He was very nice, and he explained the program. Can we all just, this goes out to the citizens. This goes out to the city. I believe that there was probably some things. I've heard things from city people, and I've heard things from community people. Nobody should be putting up with that on either side. Mm-hmm. Let's have some damn self-respect for each other on both sides.
Language.
Sorry, I'm a little angry. So I know you're getting ready to bring out something that maybe will bring some light to this.
Hopefully.
I would like to see some of these people. I know technically you're not supposed to have people outside of the city on these boards, but I'd like these people to be involved so they can see what's going on. Let's put an end to this battery thing. We got a lot of businesses in this town, a lot of growth, a lot of good things going on, and as a business owner in this town, being called toxic doesn't make us look good. And I got asked to say this by some other business owners too, because we are tired. People who are investing $2 million in downtown, they don't want the town to be painted as toxic.
Nope.
So sorry that I was a little emotional this time. I've had enough of this. People who show me respect get my respect. Mr. Obendorfer, whether I agree with him on everything, I sure don't, but I agree with him on a lot of things. He has shown me respect, but there are people that have not. So that goes out to those people. You guys have a great evening.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Stick
Thank you.
around. We got good news for you.
Yeah, we do, don't we? You're up, sir.
My name's John Wheelock, for Sales Road, Washington Township. I just have a few quick questions here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, last Thursday we had a meeting, and this is probably for the city manager.
Yes, sir.
When you gave him the paper for how much it's going to cost us, did you break it down to him?
Yeah, so the model, I shared the model with them, so I walked through it on August 22nd with both Spring Creek and Washington Township trustees and explained to them where the model came from, where the numbers come from, why the increase was happening, and then I also provided paper copies.
Okay, I have another question here. Could you or one of the city people be down there when we had this meeting? And because there's a lot of people really scared that we was going to lose Piqua. I mean, the race. I mean, would you all be concerned?
Yes,
I mean,
yes, I
family and
understand.
stuff?
That's
I mean,
why we-
don't get me wrong. And another question here. Lockington was there. One Representative Lockington and Covington. There are mutual aid out there.
Were we invited to that?
I was not invited to the meeting, but I'd be we're having Spring Creek's holding a town hall on Thursday.
Yeah,
at
it's at
7 o'clock.
Well, I'm just saying, why wasn't
We
did
weren't
Piqua
invited.
know? I mean, that's what we was kind of concerned. Why wasn't anybody from Piqua there or the fire chief there? You know, because Lockington and Covington.
I saw that. I watched the live stream of it, and I understand that. And Mr. Wheelock, you give me your email, I'll send you the breakdown that you're asking for, so
that-
you
or
can
d-
see it.
Or that, or just, you know, is there a way you can put it on a website or just give it to the Washington trustees?
Yeah,
to
well,
trust it,
they've
so
got
they can
it.
give
They
it
should have
to
gave
us.
it to you.
They just had the paper and that was it. You know, it's like this gentleman said here, it's he said, she said. You know, you go from 115% up.
Yeah.
And we do need mutual aid out there.
You do.
We do. I mean, I've seen wrecks out there.
Yes.
I mean, somebody a couple years ago wrecked in the front yard, flipped a car end over end. Lockington's great. I mean, they're super.
We don't want you to go
So is
without.
Covington. But I'm just saying, though, you know, let's negotiate a little. I mean, you're throwing out figures there saying we're getting a great deal. I mean, you know, a lot of people out there pay the.
They never
you know,
came back to
school
the
ta-
table. That's the problem.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's we're having misunderstanding, and we got to get this figured
Mr.
out.
Obendorfer, would you be willing to continue to negotiate with Washington Township?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'm meeting with the township trustee tomorrow to try to work through some of
That's
this.
great. I guess we got to what, March 31st for the contract or something
well,
like
so
that?
it was March 31st, but as long as there was ground being made to get somewhere, because eventually it'll be a ballot issue, and I know that's November.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're willing to do whatever we have to
Yeah,
get there.
because I'm going to tell you right now, I know a lot of people, a lot of great people live out there. My family's out there. I'm out there. But there's a lot of concerned people that we might be losing. And
gonna
that's,
work
you
with
know, and it's scary.
It is.
Well, and I hope you're passing that same message to the township trustees who are ultimately responsible for making that
Well,
decision
I
of
didn't-
whom provides your fire. and
Well, they did.
EMS
That's why
services.
Lockington was there, Covington was there answering our questions. I didn't know anything about it until Thursday, and somebody seen this, and that's why we went down to the meeting and stuff
But
like
don't
that
you think
to
they
find
probably
out.
should have said something to you in August?
Maybe they should have said something in
Well, they
January,
didn't say
too.
nothing, they didn't get nothing until they got this paperwork. And then that's when they called this meeting and stuff like that. Like this gentleman says, it's he said, she said. So we got to get the facts. We don't know now if we go and start, here's the paperwork, everybody knows. And we all can go from there instead of fighting and bickering all the time.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think everybody up here, we're really sympathetic to the need. Yeah, we do want to work with you. We weren't invited to the Washington Township one. I'm planning on going to the Spring Creek one. It sounds like Paul
it
is
was
as
on
well.
Facebook. I mean, it was on like somebody wrote on Facebook and stuff like that.
Well,
I thought you guys would know. I mean, you know.
I just happened to see it on the Facebook thing. I didn't know about it.
But somebody text me, you know. That's why we all got to communicate. You
And
know,
the-
this gentleman right here. You
The,
know.
the contract that your trustees interacted with said that it ended in 2022. So that's
well, it
that's
was
why.
by a handshake. I heard it was a handshake you guys did.
We
you
heard
know.
that. I heard that on that.
And I heard it was a handshake,
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I
and
heard.
see, that's what I'm saying. You heard, I heard, he might not have heard, you know, like, here we go. So I'm not going to sit up here and babble on about the he said, but we got to work together, period.
Yes, sir.
And we got to have a great deal, period.
We want to work with you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm glad you came up. Mm-hmm.
Thanks for staying late, guys.
No problem. That's our job.
Paul, thank you for standing up for us. So, First thing is I want another meeting with OEPA and RAPCA, and maybe we can put this to rest. But until I and several other individuals get our questions answered about this battery burning, I still have very, very big concerns about how our town was run. I insist that there's no more burning of anything ever at 9300 State Route 66. It's a source water protection area. I'm trying to get it as declared as a scenic river. If you would look at the source water protection, any type of burning ever should have been done out there. So I'm going to let my battery burning go for right now, but I want another meeting where the citizens can ask individual questions to the OEPA and RAPCA, because I have stuff on my phone that says OEPA and RAPCA were directly involved with this to help the city's financial economy. So that makes me question why nothing was ever inspected out there. The fox is watching the hen house. So I'm gonna ask that you guys please work with us to get another meeting, please, or it's gonna continue. I'll be here every Tuesday, and I'm going to ask for that every Tuesday, and no more burning. If you go out and look at 9300 State Route 66, that property has multiple code violations that if it was my property, I would have gotten code violations for it. Tear it down, make it a butterfly park. No more burning. Chris, the last meeting, I asked you, was any grant money available for fixing houses that was not used for that particular house? And you cut me off. So
Okay.
I'm going to read this to you guys once again. City of Piqua mission statement. Promote the health, safety, and welfare of the community through the efficient and effective delivery of services based on addressing the needs of and making continuing improvements in the city in partnership with the community. So, check out the Piqua Opportunity Zone. And where this house was located at just happened to be in the Piqua Opportunity Zone, and it was torn down. How would you guys feel if you had a fire at your house and it was condemned and they tore your house down? Jason Tillman was recently arrested, and I'm afraid that if it would have been my situation, that I'd probably be dead or maybe in prison. Imagine somebody tearing your house down and you live in this town. Imagine that. So let's read these emails tonight. Dan had a conversation with Matt, Ohio Department of Development, during which it was confirmed that the Department of Development would allow us to use program income for a full rehab of the Tillman house, interior and exterior, as discussed previously. This will be a county project, and we have a local contractor ready. That's one email. Paul, do you have time for a quick call this morning? We are basically looking for your consent to use our CHIP funds program income to assist Mr. Tillman. We have a contractor who could do the work and not impact Piqua projects in the queue. I would need Dan to answer specific program questions you might have. And the third one. Oh my gosh, I agree with this. The snag on our end is that the code does not give us the authority to mandate completion deadlines. The code requires reasonable progress in order to maintain an active approval permit, but no provisions to force completion dates. Yet tore a guy's house down. I think that the charges that were brought against him should be dropped. Imagine your family going through a fire, then coming to find out that your house is torn down, then find out that there was grants available to fix your house. Tell me how you guys would feel.
I'd want to know
Would
the
you-
whole story. You're only telling part of the story, and your time is up at this point.
Once again, my time is up. I don't care
I'm
what
gonna-
side of the story I'm saying. There was grant money available for this guy's house. You guys
should
tore
hear
his
the whole
house down.
story. At
There's
some point.
there's also a court system available for redress of grievances, not going and yelling at people in a grocery store.
Yep, that's part of the whole story.
I'm pretty sure that you're probably lucky that that's the only thing he did, because I may have handled it differently. If somebody would have torn my house down.
All right.
I'm-
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Have a seat, please.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thank you, Paul.
I thought I was gonna have dinner at 8.
Good point, Tom. Great point.
Melanie Walker, 526 North Wayne Street.
Hi there.
Hey, I just want to say that I think that y'all have done an amazing job. I've not had a problem. I didn't have a problem with the other commissioners. The last couple years, there has been great progress.
Yep.
And I appreciated y'all standing up tonight and backing Paul. You know, it's like a marriage. There are good days and there are bad days, and there are things you've got to work through, and then there's fabulous stuff. And we're seeing all of that. And I think that I'm a person that comes up and speaks and very positive. The problem is that the positive people do not come to this meeting because of all the negative people that are here. And so, you know, I'm here as a business owner, as a resident, and want to keep everything as positive as we can. And I was happy to hear Adam and Eve speak tonight. And I know she's been doing, I saw that she had been giving food out to the homeless people,
Yeah.
which I think is just amazing. You know, and so there's so many good things that are happening, and we're not hearing about them because all we're hearing is the complaining about everything else going on. And yes, there were issues with the batteries, there's, you
there
know.
was.
So, and I don't think that we should brush it under, but I think that we should let it all be addressed and move on and be happy with our wonderful people that are working through everything with us.
I'm thankful to the people that brought the issue of the battery forward so that we could get it stopped, and we're moving forward. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
If there are no other, one more.
Good evening. My name is Tim Eschman. I'm in Washington Township on Landman Mill Road, and I'm also the Washington Township Committeeman for the Republican Party. And the reason I'm here is to just to be able to explain to people in Washington Township why this increase is so dramatic, and that's part of the reason I'm here today.
Sure.
And you know, find out some other details that may be of assistance. One of the questions that I'd like to ask Manager Oberdorfer is, what were the, let's say, the top 5 factors used to determine the amount of the increase?
So it's a model that takes into account all the expenditures that it takes to actually provide a call. So it's a call-based fee, and as I indicated, that structure had been set up by Troy in terms of the model. So they have a per-call run that they come up with as the fee, and then they take the previous year's run data, and that's what you come up with what the contribution would be.
Okay, was that the only way that you used to determine the fees that you were going to charge?
So there's really, it's a service-based fee, and so again, there's really, if you want to come up with the model that was previously employed in 2010, that's where the city manager at that time just said it's 60% of whatever the cost is. So they charge 60% of what they said at that time was $1,031 per run call.
See, that's what's a little confusing is how previous city managers who are quite competent in this community would have come up with, and then now we're going to something that's dramatically different. Yeah, so I'm just kind of curious, where did they miss the mark on that?
Quite frankly, it was not a sophisticated understanding of what the charges were.
Okay. You know, everybody, a number of you mentioned that the cost for Piqua, was so much higher for Washington Township. And one of my good friends works as a fireman in Columbus, and my understanding from the firemen in Columbus is that the city reticences call emergency for much more often than necessary for non-emergency circumstances. And I think that would be one reason why it would be less expensive to charge Washington Township, because I would think that those people out there are not the typical city people that maybe call much more often.
No, so the call volume, it's based on per run cost, right? So if in order to provide services, we're staffing a minimum of 7 firefighters, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, so they're there. And if you want to look at Troy's model and the cost differential between what their per run cost is versus ours, it's a simple dilution of the fact that they service more people and have more calls. In terms of the fire department and how much it costs to run both fire departments, it's very similar. The difference being that when you're adding up all those additional calls, then it's cheaper to do that business.
Okay, I'm just not sure I'm being quite understood. I'm just saying that city residences call for emergency more often than, and that's what I've understand, for non-emergency circumstances. They're going out doing stuff they shouldn't be called for, and that's happening. I think less in Washington Township than the cities is what I understand. I don't know if that was factored in, to the, how you deducted, what you're going to charge,
The service is rendered, and we can look at the different call types and what the calls are for, but at the end of the day, it's still a call is a call. So we're actually if we're doing more calls in the city, we're still picking up more of that expense in the city.
Okay, and then are there any other options to increase the contract over a longer period of time? I mean, 115% is, it's giant. I mean, for people out there, I mean, that's like from 100,000, it's going to be like 225,000. I mean, what about, you'd be able to do it over, say, a 3-year period. They're going to need time to get educated on why this is needed and get a levy passed, and to do this all in 1 year, such a giant increase seems, that's too much.
Well, as I indicated, the one property we looked at was essentially $9 a month, and the other one was $13 a month. When you had your home reappraised, the county gave you between 13 and 23% increase with, you have to go back and fight it, right? But that amounts to thousands of dollars. So what we're looking at is, and it's very incremental increase to cover it. Plus, it still doesn't account for the 0.125% of the safety levy, which in the city generates $625,000 of revenue. And if you look at the township side, it would generate between $60,000 and $70,000 of revenue. If you look at debt service, that's about a med unit every 3 years.
So, I mean, if they don't pass the levy, people are not going to have this. They're going to have another 10 minutes. They're going to be, having people that are on volunteer situations, and they have much less volunteers out there for these. It could be, death and, for people that, miss out on that extra time. This may not get passed. This is a huge increase. I mean, I think that if it doesn't pass, we don't get this levy, they're going to be less time out there for, when you have to go to Covington, or they have to get somebody to drive in from their ball game, and will they come in for their ball game? If this, I just think that it's too much over a 1 year period. It should be done over at least 3 years.
Well, and I just wanted to add, because you're in the real estate industry, so currently, because we provide coverage, the ISO rating's a 4, and if it goes to volunteer, it'll become a 9. And so that incremental increase in your homeowner's insurance, I don't know what that looks like, but it's certainly not going to be what we're asking just to provide the service.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Oberdorfer, did you reached out to the townships over the course of the past during 2023, and presumably they could have had you would have been open to them influencing how you calculated the model and what the increase was?
Well, and as long as I could be transparent with the commission, in terms of the subsidy, right? So ultimately, it's sort of like the golf course. We want a net zero, and, that's a perfect world.
Pay for itself.
And it takes time to get there. When we talk about response time and we have a dilapidated fire station and we want to have 2 new fire stations, part of the equation would be developing a capital plan that would address maybe 2 stations, one on the east, one on the west, that would provide faster response time to both the city as well as the townships if we're going to remain in a contract. But that's a lot of discussion to have, and it just didn't happen.
And as we're now hopefully going to enter more of a dialogue with these communities, are you still open to working with them on negotiating a price?
I think it's, for the kind of service that we provide, I feel obligated for the greater community to offer it, as long as there's concurrence between the administration and the commission, how it impacts the budget. Because as we already supplement fire services for the city through the general fund, it also is supplemented through the general fund for the township contracts. And so that takes money, $1 million, I believe it was 1.25 million. I could be off by 100,000, but it's a substantial amount of money that could be used for our park system or for streetscape or for improvements or debt service on a ladder truck. So, we're just trying to strike that balance between revenues and expenditures.
And I know 150% increase sounds pretty scary, but what's that?
115.
115% sounds a little scary. But based off the average houses that you selected as the model, we're looking on average about $9 to $13, which is a much less scary per month, which is a much less scary number, right?
Right, and I did it intentionally so that they're adjacent to the city limits, but they're really part of the city if, you think about it.
Gotcha. And I guess, and that's $9 to $13 per average household, but an average household might have multiple individuals dwelling within it, right?
Right, that's just an average.
Okay, so we're talking about maybe a couple days of coffee per month.
Right.
And I would say that an extra $9 to $13 per month is well worth the price of having a several minutes reduced response time for most people. I think, maybe if it was even 10 minutes increase in response time, you might be getting that for just $1 per minute on your response time, which I think is a pretty good deal.
Well, and I just want to shout out to our fire department that all 3 med units, when they're staffed, are all advanced life-saving units. So they can roll out there and provide every level of care that's required, and get you stabilized and, get you to one emergency room now. But, having 3 ALS units is really outstanding for a small town our size.
I'll just continue my comment just a little bit, is just say, I think it might be more beneficial to talk about the cost increase in a dollar amount per household rather than saying 115%, which sounds a little scary without the context of it just being, a couple cups of coffee, maybe even just 1 cup of coffee, depending on what you get.
There you go.
And to be
Right.
transparent, I'm not trying to belabor this, but when you look at the median household income in Piqua is $55,000 and change. In Spring Creek Township, it's I believe it's $85,000 and $83,000 in Washington Township. So there's substantial, more availability to pay that than our own residents.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments from citizens? I will go to city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Moving back to the Greater Dayton Humane Society, I just wanted to give you some numbers that she didn't present in her report. There were over 53 adopted felines that went outside the community, so even if they were to break free, they're far enough away, they're not coming back.
It's not our problem.
In the area, there were 31 adoptions that were made in the area, and one was found and had a chip and was reunited with his family. And I happened to see on social media that there were 2 young children that were crying at the fact that their pet was found. So it really is a great program. Just a quick update on the snow and ice. I mean, this is our first appreciable snow and winter we've had. So I asked Brian Brookhart for an update. He said that our first snow, we used 68 tons of salt. There were 5 trucks out, so that equates to about $6,900 of activity just on the first event. And they're still out treating the roads today. And when we have these low temperatures, you could take up to 3 to 4 times the amount of salt per lane mile. So typically you put out 300 pounds per mile. It could take 3-4 times that amount the lower the temperature gets. So we'll use a lot more salt while we're at these low temperatures. Just a quick reminder, the next event that's coming in on Thursday afternoon into Friday, they're expecting 2 to 5 inches. They're all over the map on the forecast right now. But I just wanted to end with a piece of good news, which is our new salt barn was completed. It's got 700 tons of salt in it. And if one day we have a new home for Public Works, it can go with us.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, before I go into commissioners' comments, I want Commissioner DeBross to present a proposal that will be a resolution at the next meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. I, like a lot of you, have some unanswered questions, concerns, issues regarding what happened at the old water treatment plant, which what started in 2017 as a fire training school academy with, full disclosure, my alma mater, Bowling Green State University, to then what we end up with in the end of 2023. So one of the things that we had talked about or discussed, and that I've ultimately asked for text to be drafted, is for the commission to appoint a special committee made up of residents of the city of Piqua to ultimately look into and answer that question, to produce a report for the city commission addressing how we started, how we got to where we went, and then to make recommendations to the commission as to actions that the commission should look at taking. One, to remedy what led us down this path, but two, and probably more importantly, to make sure we put parameters and guardrails in place to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. So that was my ask, to have a resolution drafted to establish that committee, and would allow, obviously, the couple key points. The committee would point directly to the commission. The commission would appoint members of the city to said committee. The committee would then have the ability, if they determined that they needed to hire a third-party outside entity, they would have that authority as well. This particular committee would allow us that outside independent assessment of what has happened and what we need to do to ultimately put this behind us. So with that, Mayor, I will yield
I'm
to
in
you.
full support of it. I don't know what the other commissioners think. Commissioner Simmons? So we will have something on the, at the next meeting, so that, and if you're interested in live in the city, interested in volunteering for this, let us know. We'll have something up. Can we have something up, Paul, on the volunteer site, the site that we do for?
Once you pass the resolution, we'll go ahead and get that posted just like it would any other border committee.
Well, if anybody's interested, you can always contact me. I will be here tomorrow, as long as there's no snow, from 4 to 6. So, and we'll start with commissioners' comments with Commissioner Simmons.
Hey, good evening, everybody. So I've got 3 items. I'll make it the shortest to the longest. First, after the last meeting, I got a little bit of heat from folks in email and on Facebook about wearing a hat indoors. It is for medical reasons. I get migraines, and these lights are as worse as any that I've seen. So I went to my doctor. I have an FMLA. It's on file with the HR department, and it specifically says that it is a reasonable accommodation for Commissioner Simmons to wear a hat indoors. So, done with item 1. Item 2, this will make you smile. We have an amateur radio class, folks.
Yes.
On February 17th, class is going to be from 11 o'clock a.m. to 3 p.m. Testing is going to be from 3 to 4. I have to put an event up on Facebook. I am limited to 10 students. There's no cost for the class or the test. You do have a $35 fee to the FCC for your license, And it's going to be at Stonebridge Church, just right down the street over there at 105 East Green Street. Last item is the longest. So there's this book that I tend to read a bit of, and it has this one thing in here that you might be familiar with it. It says, "A man of too many friends comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." And I've come to find that to be true. You know, Adam just got up here and he said, you know, kids know how to make up the next day. And I'm not going to wait until the next day. I'm 63, and if there's anything I learned in the last year, I don't have any guarantees of tomorrow.
Yep.
Right? So I have a friend who's stuck closer than a brother. Last year's been hell for me.
Yes, sir.
And there's been times that I have called our mayor and just started bawling my eyes out. And he has held me up.
And I will continue.
And yeah, that ship has not come safely into harbor yet. But I just wanted to show my appreciation by giving him a little something that this should teach you a lesson. It should teach you that you should be careful what pictures you put on Facebook.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh yeah, you gotta open that.
This will be great. My kids told me that too. Be careful. He didn't wrap it well. Oh my gosh. He knows I'm a comic book fan. I love it. Thank you very much, Commissioner Simmons. This is awesome. I love it. Thank you very much. I'll put this up here.
Yeah, don't gavel him.
Yeah, no. All right. Thank you again very much. You're such a good guy. You're up.
All right. I'll just start off thanking my fellow commissioner, Mr. DeBras, for his idea about the committee. I think that's going to be that'll be a good way of trying to bring the narrative of the battery burning to fruition. I also I'll just point out that question from those Cub Scouts is going to keep me up forever. That was the hardest question.
It's hard.
That was the hardest question. And then other than that, I'll just say thank you guys, everybody who stayed super late when you didn't even have to. I had to, and I am starving to death. So I will end my comment with that.
Can hear his stomach. It's terrible.
And I will,
Commissioner Vetter.
Given the lateness of the evening, I have a number of items that I will bring up at the next meeting, and I'll yield to Mr. DeBras.
Commissioner DeBras. You're up.
Right back to you.
The only thing that I have is to thank the people who came and stayed late, and to thank our city manager for hanging in there. And
We'll see. I'll see what my boy wants.
yeah, we'll see what happens in February. The commissioners, though, proposal was brought to consolidate the Planning Commission and the BZA. And we need to decide whether we're going to consolidate it and start all over with a brand new committee, or keep the committees that we've got and then vote for new people. And both options are out there. So in this public forum, I'd kind of like to know what you guys would like to do. Commissioner DeBras?
I would like to look into the combining of the two and creating a new entity.
And I'm really neutral. I could go either way. I'm not committed to either decision.
At this time, I have not seen any compelling reasoning or justification to merge the boards.
Commissioner Simmons?
I'd say if we merge them, we start fresh.
And I'd like to keep the boards as they are. So it's 2-2, and you're the swing vote there, Mr. Vetter. I'm just telling you, you are. So we kind of need to know.
More discussion?
More discussion.
More
to come.
discussion.
Okay.
Dialogue. I guess, we'll, never mind.
All right. But thank you all for being a part of this and for supporting the city and for coming. And I will be here tomorrow from 4 to 6 for questions. questions that people ask are getting answered. And were they in the agenda packet this time?
Yes, they were.
They're in the agenda packet. Once we get our Facebook page up and running with our new PIO, Public Information Officer, we'll post them there as well. So thank you, and I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
We are adjourned. This made my day. I can't believe you, man. Paul, you're crazy, man. You just made my day, man. This is so awesome. Thank you. Oh, no.
That don't work. The Hance Pavilion.
And you brought me dinner. Sorry about that.
MCA Youth Building. Yeah, and it's going to be the first of many meetings, but I think we're seeing it as kind of a fact-finding thing. I want to make sure that people are not off on extremes. You know, it's going to be a long project.
Yep.
It's going to take money.
We definitely want you part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I want you to be a part of it because you're in the Parks Board.
Thursday night, 7 o'clock.
Have to have an 8 a.m. class.
Yeah, you're flying back.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they are flying. Nice. So that's
So you're
the one
back.
that
You're
does,
okay.
2 meter 440.
So Natalie, if you can go, it'd be great. But if you can't, that's okay. I can't go. I teach until 7, and then I'll be out at Spring Creek for the Spring Creek Township. But I'll say something to Terry as well.